This is Monty in the Morning, the show Phoenix Magazine readers voted #1 talk radio show in Arizona.
#1 during your morning commute.
#1 whenever news breaks during your day.
And #1 whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man, how the heck are you? Indeed, it is the Monty Show on Wednesday, August 3rd already. A lot to get to today, Jake.
Yes.
Thanks for not helping prepare for the show. Appreciate it. Jake did absolutely nothing to start the show today. No, I'm kidding. I say that because this is one of those days where we were behind all morning long.
Things happen.
Listening to Vin Scully highlights. The late, great Dodger broadcaster passed away last night at the age of 94. So get ready to talk about your favorite broadcasters of all time, because we will absolutely do that. The Utah Utes shocking the world in the latest college football rankings. Can the Utes play their way into the Big 12? We'll talk about that coming up. And Jake says that the food you're eating is killing you.
Us.
So you essentially had one of those mornings where you were like, hey, I'm going to pee in your coffee. By the way, all of your favorite foods are killing you and every other American who likes them as well.
Nice burger.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice brat.
Thank you for starting
nice
the morning
chip.
in such a chipper fashion.
Yeah, see what he did there? Chip and chipper, and it kind of all goes together.
Yeah, it comes out naturally. I didn't even try to do
Right.
that. But having said all of that, let's start with the Utah Jazz. Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz seemed to be heading for a parting of company. And I guess the question is, if you are Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz, are you going to part company? And will you part company because of media narratives in Salt Lake City? It seems like the media in Salt Lake is actively working to drive Donovan Mitchell out of Salt Lake City. And I say that again because another article printed by what is supposedly the #1 media outlet in Salt Lake City is negative and anti-Donovan Mitchell, and talking about how there is a belief around the NBA that in 3 years Donovan will walk away from the Jazz, and that's why they have to trade him now, which is complete trash. There is no NBA executive that is going to trade a player today because, in 3 years he might walk away from the team. Yet this is what we get from what is supposed to be Salt Lake City's #1 news source for sports and everything else. And Jake, I just don't understand why the media in Salt Lake City continues to run with this narrative that Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz need to end their relationship.
Yeah, I think that there's a number of issues here, in my opinion. You know, again, my opinion, 100%. Like, I think the first issue is that, yeah, it is seemingly inaccurate information. First, you know, if you look back over the last month, what did we get? Well, you know, they're definitely trying to trade Donovan Mitchell. They're calling around the league trying to trade Donovan Mitchell. Then it was, hey, you know, the Knicks are super close to acquiring Donovan Mitchell, and I have text messages, and I'm, you know, in the know, and then nothing happened, and that didn't look great, and now we're here. And now we're getting articles about Donovan Mitchell. You know, Danny Ainge wants to move Donovan Mitchell because in 3 years, Don will probably walk in free agency. I got news for you. That's not how it works. That's never been how the NBA works. And whether we're talking about Donovan Mitchell or LeBron or Bryce Harper in baseball or Juan Soto in baseball or whoever, right? Any big name player, GMs and executives are not going about their day saying, well, you know, Donovan Mitchell is going to leave in 3 years, so I better trade him today. We're not there yet, man. You got 3 seasons to win Donovan Mitchell over. You got 3 seasons to build a roster around him and bring a winner to Salt Lake City. That's where we are. So I completely agree with the sentiment that, yeah, the media is negative on Donovan Mitchell, and I just don't quite understand it. Now, what I will say is there is some criticism that is warranted on Donovan Mitchell. Yes, the leadership needs to improve. Yes, the defense has to improve. Yes, the decision-making on offense has to improve. There are things in his game that he needs to get better with. There's no doubt about that, you know, and last year is where everything kind of got to a tipping point. So it's not as though Donovan Mitchell's perfect, but I just think that this opinion or this narrative, if you will, that the Utah Jazz are just hell-bent on trading Donovan Mitchell is just not credible. I just don't believe it. And again, it's my opinion. And yes, some of it is off information that we've gotten, obviously, but my opinion is they're not actively trying to trade Don. We've been saying that for weeks. Like, hey, they're not looking to trade Don. They're not calling around the league, trying to get, every single team and their mom involved. But if someone calls the Utah Jazz and wants to talk to Danny Ainge about giving them their entire franchise for one player, then Danny's going to listen. That's unchanged.
I'm struggling with this, honestly. Like we have talked about this ad nauseum. Frankly, we made a promise not to rip the media in Salt Lake City. But how do you explain this? This is one of the most ridiculous, unprofessional things I think I have ever seen.
And I don't think it's just the Tribune either. Like, we need to be really clear on this. I think it's multiple outlets in the Valley talking about how, like, everyone is just sure. They're just like 100% certain that the Utah Jazz are trying to trade Donovan Mitchell.
Well, it's not even the opinion thing that bothers me. Hey, your opinion on something that you see or something that you deal with, your opinion on whether the Jazz are going to trade Donovan Mitchell, hey, man, I'm all good with that. If you agree or disagree, that's what makes the talk world go round. Like we do a talk show every day. That is, if you read the comments on this show, you know that every single day people disagree with us, and we're good with that. We're good with that. The thing that I don't understand is you're the number one newspaper in Salt Lake City, supposedly. You are supposedly the source for Jazz news, supposedly. And yet you continue to put out pieces that are pure conjecture, that are pure fantasy, that are not based in any fact whatsoever. And I just can't comprehend it. I don't get it. And the thing that I struggle with so much is if this was a one-off, if this was just August and the NBA news cycle slow, okay, maybe. But you're putting out a piece where you supposedly are talking to NBA sources saying, well, the Jazz have to trade Donovan now because he's going to walk away in 3 years. In 3 years, he's going to walk away, so you have to trade him now. There is no logic in that whatsoever. That's just not the way the NBA works. First of all, I've covered this league for 30 years. I've never seen a team be like, well, our best player, yeah, he's got a contract that ends in 3 years. We should trade him now.
We shouldn't sign Kevin Durant and Kyrie because they'll leave in a year.
Well,
we 2 years.
We just signed this guy to a 3-year extension. He may walk away. We should trade him now. Nobody thinks that. Nobody. Not a single person thinks that. And by the way, the other part of this is Donovan Mitchell's never said that. Donovan's never asked for a trade. He has never said, I don't want to play here. Who's pushed that? The media. Yes. Who's pushed this idea that, hey, Donovan Mitchell thinks that he's too big for Salt Lake City? The media. Donovan's never even got anywhere near that. Never said that. I have talked to people in his circle. He has never said that. They have never said that. The Jazz have never heard that from Don. Yet we continue to get this garbage from the media in this town who wants to see a Donovan Mitchell trade. So they can stand up and they can say, oh, look at me. We were right. Okay, does that make you feel better? Like when they trade Donovan Mitchell, and I think it's still a possibility, when they trade Donovan Mitchell and you stand up and say, see, I told you so, does that make you feel better? Because I don't understand this anti-Donovan Mitchell sentiment that is being pushed by the media in this town. I don't get it because I don't think it plays to what Jazz fans want. I don't think it plays to what readers and fans across the state want or feel or think. I just don't.
Yeah, and I think that the trouble is you're not writing based off of Donovan Mitchell's actions or based off of like what you're hearing, in my opinion. I mean, again, I can't emphasize this enough. What you were just saying, like, nobody in sports, this isn't just an NBA conversation. Like, in sports, you don't sign a guy to an extension who's your best player and then say, well, he's still got 3 years, but we'll go ahead and trade him because, he's going to leave. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And then I look at, I look at this concept of, the negativity and not writing based on Donovan's actions. What have we seen from Donovan Mitchell? And I'm going to keep saying this thing until I'm blue in the face. What have we seen? We've seen work. We've seen work on his body, work in the gym, working on that mid-range 2 weeks ago. We showed you video of Donovan at Brickley's gym working on his mid-range, his footwork, his touch around the rim. Like, he's showing you what he's doing, yet what do we get? Well, he's leaving. They want to trade him. He thinks he's too big for Salt Lake City. He's never said any of that, and yet he's shown you the work he's putting in, and this is what he gets. And that is my problem. I'm not saying that the media has an obligation to Donovan Mitchell, but as a media member, you have an obligation and a responsibility to write things that are based in at least somewhat fact. Like, you have a responsibility, in my opinion, to go, okay, A plus B equals C, not A plus Y equals G. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I feel like we are in this town with the media and nationally. I have not been nice about what Brian Windhorst has done on ESPN. I haven't been nice about what some of the other source guys have said and then had to backtrack on and fix and go round and round. I just don't think that it's being responsible to run all this stuff out about how they want to trade him and Don doesn't want to be here when no one's ever said that.
And most importantly, Donovan's never said that. And we keep guessing and we keep playing this game like, oh, well, he farted today, so that means he wants to be traded. Like, what are you doing? Why is it so impossible for the media in Salt Lake City to simply cover people at face value? That's the biggest question I have. And again, I just have never seen a media-player relationship like we've seen with Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz. I've seen contentious relationships. I've seen players refuse to talk to the media. I covered guys like Randy Moss, who just used to routinely walk through the Raider locker room with his middle finger raised on media days he was supposed to talk to the media. Like, I've seen the worst of the worst. Mm-hmm. I have never seen a media that goes after a player on a regular basis, like as if there is an agenda on a regular basis. I've never seen it. And frankly, fans, I think you have to act. You have to stop supporting this. I told you months ago, after the Donovan Dallas situation, I canceled my subscription.
And what was that situation? Because I don't want people to forget.
The situation in Dallas was that the beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune said something of opinion, and it was completely not true. And Donovan Mitchell got upset about it and went after that particular person, whose name I'm not going to mention, who went after that particular person on Twitter. And that was it. That was it for me. Like, you just can't continue. A beat writer is somebody that's supposed to deliver the news.
Yes.
Deliver the news. What's happening with the team? What is, give me a thorough breakdown of their salary cap, like, deliver analysis and news, not opinion. Not, hey, I'm going to, I don't understand it. I am at a complete loss for words as to why the Tribune continues to do this.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I am not going to pay for their content. I am happy to pay for The Athletic because what I get from Tony Jones is valuable. I get analysis. Very rarely do you get Tony Jones with his opinion on what a trade should be, or that's just not how beat people cover teams. Your opinion is not the central focus. You're not a columnist. You're a beat writer. Give me analysis. Give me facts. Give me, hey, this happened with the team. Not, I think this is what was said, or he said this, or, hey, they're going to trade him now because in 3 years, like, no, man, that's not, I'm just done with it.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it. I've never seen a media outlet have this kind of agenda against one particular player.
Well, and I think the price
baffling.
the price you pay in the long run is Donovan leaving. You write stories about Don leaving when it's not true, and then you're surprised when he leaves. And then you're going to say, well, we were right. We were right that he's leaving.
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous to me. It's crazy to me. Like, why would you not be talking about, like, if you're going to do opinion pieces, write about Don's work. Write about, hey, this is where his game is based on what I'm seeing. Yeah. Hey, last season, based on numbers and based on tape, this is what the weak points in his game were. This is what he's shown us he's working on. That's what I'd be writing about.
Well, like I look at this comment on the show from Connor Tulin, and if you're just tuning in, we're talking about Donovan Mitchell, and the supposed leader in Jazz coverage in this town wrote another piece that essentially centered around why the Jazz would trade Donovan Mitchell, and it's because he has 3 years left on his contract, and sources say he will opt out of the contract after he will walk away from the Jazz.
Just like sources
after
said they were
3 years.
Just like sources said they're going to trade him to the Knicks imminently, right?
So Connor Tulin says he's spending his offseason in two cities that are in rumors for him. Like he has every single year as a professional, he's spending time in Miami and New York. He's a New Yorker. He's a Westchester kid. His personal trainer is in Miami. David Alexander is his body man.
Yeah.
And he's LeBron's body man. And he is David
Industry
Alexander
leader.
is in Miami. Donovan Mitchell has always spent a lot of time in Miami. Donovan Mitchell has always spent a lot of time in New York. His dad works for the Mets. He is from Westchester. He works out with Chris Brickley, who is his basketball coach, his personal basketball coach, who is in New York. So Connor, he always spends time in Miami and New York.
Why is it news?
By the way, he spent time in Louisville. Does he want to go back and play basketball at Louisville? Everywhere he was in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago. Does that mean he wants to be traded to the Lakers or the Clippers? Or you can't do that. You can't do that. The thing that really bothers me is you're spending so much time trying to draw lines between dots that you're not appreciating the guy as a player.
Infowars.com.
And listen, I think, again, you know, if you watch this show on a regular basis, this show, we live by the moniker that we are the truth in Salt Lake City sports talk. That's what we deliver you every day. And from what I understand and what I hear, I talk to people at the Jazz, and by the way, I said every time we talk about the media here, they came to us. We did not go to the Jazz. They came to us, right? We talked to people around the NBA, and they've all said, yeah, there's a chance he still gets traded. It's probably going to be in late August or early September if it happens, but most people put it at the common percentage is about 70-30. Donovan Mitchell does not get traded before training camp opens. Most people believe he will go to training camp with the Jazz. I personally think they're going to still try and trade him to the Knicks. I know that the Knicks are still very interested in Donovan Mitchell. It's a matter of how many draft picks will it take to get him. But when Donovan Mitchell's gone, watch those who stand up and jump up and down and say, I told you so. I told you so. Those are the people. Those are the ones that you should watch closely. Because anybody celebrating the fact that the Utah Jazz are trading a talent the level of Donovan Mitchell has an agenda.
Yep.
Anybody celebrating the fact that the Jazz are trading Donovan Mitchell, a guy that is exactly what prototypes of today's NBA player are made of, has an agenda. This is not a guy you want to trade. Any organization trading a guy the caliber of Donovan Mitchell is in trouble.
Yeah.
It is not a good thing. Anytime you trade somebody like Donovan Mitchell, it is a negative thing. So just keep that in mind as we talk about this story today. And I just am amazed by it.
Yeah.
I am amazed. And I'm curious how much impact the media has on Don. Because I know he pays attention. I know that he pays attention. I know he watches the headlines. I know he watches Twitter.
Yeah.
I wonder how much the media impacts him. I think it's a pretty significant amount.
Yeah.
I
think that, certainly it doesn't impact him more than like some of the other studs in the league who have their fair share of fun on social media that we all know and love, like the Durants of the world or whatever. But yeah, I think if you're a guy the caliber of Donovan Mitchell, yeah, you're definitely going to pay attention. You're definitely gonna watch what people are saying. And again, it needs to be said. Like, I think that's why, the Dallas bench thing played out the way it did. That's why he spoke out on Twitter. I think that's why Donovan Mitchell has been silent. Do you think it's any like, do you think there's any confusion around the idea that he hasn't said word one this offseason? Well, I got news for you. People are saying, well, he's not saying anything because he wants to be traded and he wants to do it quietly. And I'm sitting here telling you he's not saying anything because all the news is negative and, hey, he's leaving. And all this guy's gone and done is worked his ass off the whole offseason because he knows there's a ton to prove. He knows now that Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt and all these guys are here. And maybe some of those guys get moved, sure. But he knows what's on the line this season in Salt Lake, assuming he's going to be here. So that's why I say, like, I understand that in the summer it's slow in the NBA. I get it. But as a beat writer of a major outlet, you have a responsibility to do your damn job. You're getting paid to cover the team. So cover the damn team.
Yep. Let's see. Back in the comments, Daniel Westover gives us a $5 tip. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. By the way, if you're here watching the show, please give us a thumbs up and a like. It really does help the show grow. Appreciate everybody who tips us. Appreciate everybody who likes and follows the show. Thank you. Daniel Westover says, per sources around the league, Andy Larson will be traded to New York for some real beat journalists. I appreciate the tip. Thank you. This is not an Andy Larson issue in particular. I have voiced my displeasure with Andy, and it is what it is. My issue is with the Tribune.
Yeah, this is so much bigger than one person, dude.
Yeah, the Tribune tolerates.
Yeah.
The Tribune pays their writers, man. Those are the guys doing the job. If they didn't like what those guys were doing, they would say so. And I know for a fact, people at the Jazz have told me repeatedly, they do not like and they do not go out of their way to help the Tribune because of stuff like this. So the Tribune knows exactly what they're doing. Ramsey10 says, good morning. Yeah, the media. This isn't an Andy Larson thing. I don't want to make this personal with Andy. I really don't. I don't know Andy. We have never met. It's not personal with Andy Larson. This is not an Andy Larson thing. This is a Utah Jazz, Salt Lake Tribune thing. Andy is the beat writer for them. That is a well-known fact. Neville93 says, good morning, guys. These people are pathetic in this state. Well, I would point to not the people because I think Jazz fans are great.
Look, it needs to be – I want to be really clear on this. This isn't a one-person issue.
No.
Right? Like to give one person credit for this entire issue would not be correct. The issue is that the caliber and the quality of coverage is not good enough. Like you're not as a newspaper in a dying industry. Let's be very clear, the newspaper's dying. I hope everyone's on the same page with that. It is dying. You can get it on your phone, but you got to pay for that, right?
Yes.
So when there is coverage nationally, and you've got guys like Tony Jones at The Athletic doing great work, when you're at a local paper like the Salt Lake Tribune doing the work you're doing, you have an obligation to do better. It's literally your job to write better content than they need to trade him now because he's leaving in 3 years, or there was some issue. And that's why I say this isn't a one-person thing. That's not the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation is guys like Brian Windhorst, guys like any national guy on TV, like, I just don't like the inconsistency. One day we get, he's being traded, and we get memes from Brian Windhorst getting an Emmy Award for his acting on ESPN. Like, I just get tired of it, bro. I get tired of it. We have heard things and been told things that we intentionally did not say on the show or intentionally did not report because we couldn't back them up factually. We could not get confirmation. We could not get, credible sourcing on it. So we didn't report it. And that's the obligation you have that I feel like nobody follows. Yeah,
I really struggle with it, frankly. I want better from the media. I grew up in Chicago, which is one of the best newspaper towns in the history of this country. I grew up with a media that holds people accountable. You look at cities like Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco has one of the best media groups in the country.
Look at what they're doing to these golfers, bro.
You look at the European media. Salt Lake City deserves better. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I would say again, watch where you spend your money. Watch where you spend your money. When you have to subscribe to something, it better be good 9 out of 10 days. And the Salt Lake Tribune is not. You deserve better. If you are paying for a digital subscription, you deserve better. I'm not telling you not to subscribe to them. I will never spend another penny with them. Not when their structure is as it is. I think you're making a mistake doing that. Support The Athletic. That's what I would tell you. Support the Deseret News. I happen to think Sarah Todd is a very good feature writer. I think she's good at what she does. I think Tony Jones is one of the best beat writers I've ever been around. And I support The Athletic with my dollars. I will not support the Salt Lake Tribune. There's too many opinions mixed in with fact.
Yeah.
Where they try to pass opinion off as fact, and it's not. And I just don't think it's the right thing to do.
Then it gets picked up nationally, and then the narrative starts spinning, and that's the other issue. Like, I guess my biggest thing here is I want more integrity. I want more professionalism in the role. I want more like, hey, I have a responsibility because I'm me to make sure that the things that I report and that I write are based in fact. And if I don't have anything fact-based to back up the idea that they're going to trade him now because he's leaving in 3 years, I probably shouldn't report that. What I should report is that, hey, yeah, there is a lot of controversy around Donovan Mitchell. Hey, yeah, there is a lot of talking nationally. But what's this guy doing? He's working his ass off to be in shape, to improve his game. And when he comes back and puts up 30 points a night, as you've been saying, don't be surprised. And as you said, hey, the people who celebrate when Don leaves, watch those people. Take note of who those people are. No pun intended.
When those people celebrate, and you will see it. You will see it. Those people will celebrate. And those are the people you need to watch. Because I'm telling you, I've been around Jordan. I've been around Kobe. I've been around Steph. I've been around Shaq.
You were
I've been
LeBron's
around
first
Magic.
game.
I've been around LeBron. I have seen the very best talent the NBA has ever had to offer. Donovan Mitchell, while not currently in that class, has the ability to be there. And if you celebrate him leaving your team, the day that Michael Jordan put on a Wizards uniform, I said I regret not enjoying it and not realizing how lucky we were as Bulls fans to have him. When Shaq left the Lakers, I said, hey, Laker fans, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you realize how lucky you are to have Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes.
And now you don't. Like the day that Kobe died, everybody was like, man, I wish I'd appreciated him more.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, if we've seen Don play his last game in a Jazz uniform, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you appreciated.
Yeah.
I hope that you recognize how special and talented he is.
Facts.
Dennis Levy, thank you. I think it's Levy. Levie. Levi?
Levy.
Levy?
I think it's
Okay.
Levy, yeah.
Dennis, thanks for the $2 super sticker. Good morning to Erica Schultz. Erica, good to see you. Dennis Levi. Morning, boys. I'm a big Celtics fan. What are your thoughts on our performance in the playoffs versus how we played in the championship? You need Jason Tatum to take another step. And frankly, I don't know that Tatum and Brown ever win a championship together. Because they were close, but they weren't really that close. You're in the finals, which is great. You won an Eastern Conference championship now. Now what? What's the next thing? And the indication is that they very clearly tried to trade for Kevin Durant, which tells you that there's a good chance that the guys running, Wick Grosbeck and company realize that they don't have what it takes to win. So, I would be I'd be excited if I were a Celtic fan. Daniel Westover says Larson's trip piece is trash. It's 100% speculation, full of stuff like there is a sense around the league that Don feels this way. Why not try doing some actual journalism? That's my point. The problem is, and here's the issue too, Donovan Mitchell is not available. Not during the season, not in the offseason. He's not talking to the media.
Mm-hmm.
He is a guy that does it begrudgingly. In my opinion, I don't believe that he trusts the media in Salt Lake City. And why should he? Because he's had multiple run-ins with the Tribune, and I think perfectly justified. I don't know why you would trust the media here. Because if you look at the real media in this town, I don't know that that's a thing.
Yeah, I don't know that it exists.
And the issue is, again, is that the media in Salt Lake City is all owned wholly by the church.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not owned by the church, the Jazz are in your pocket. It's that simple. And when you are KSL, you're owned by the church and the Jazz are in your pocket. So are you really going to get unbiased reporting? No. Are you ever going to hear the truth? No. When you look at the Zone doesn't give you unbiased reporting. The Zone does not give you unbiased opinion. Look at, PK last week, Patrick Kinahan, or I guess 2 weeks ago now, with this story about how the trade is imminent and I'm going to go on another show on the station. And then he retracted that. He backpedaled as fast as one humanly possibly can. The trade is imminent. It's going to happen. My phone's blowing up. And it never happened. It never happened. And then it comes out that it wasn't close. And as we told you, they hadn't talked at that point for 10 days.
He broke up with you over text message?
Right? But why is he backpedaling? Because I'm sure the Jazz were not happy about that. And I'm sure that he didn't run that by the people he's got to run that by. And you look at the Tribune, their lifeblood is the Utah Jazz. You look at the Deseret News, their lifeblood is BYU and the Jazz. Is anything owned by the church ever going to be critical of BYU?
No.
Never. Who owns KSL? Who is currently managing the Zone Sports Network?
Mm-hmm.
Bonneville. Who owns Bonneville? The church owns Bonneville.
Oh.
So the Jazz, BYU, look at the Utes, ESPN 700. Look at RSL, Real Salt Lake, ESPN 700. There's no unbiased media. You're looking at it. This is it right here. Because there is not a radio show in this town. There is not a newspaper columnist in this town. There is not a beat writer in this town that in some way, shape, or form doesn't have a leash on.
Yep.
Because of their relationship with the team. The Salt Lake Tribune is by far not unbiased. Look, I mean, again, another example. Hey, Don's got 3 years left on his contract. He's going to walk away at the end. They should trade him now.
Hell no.
3 years from now.
You know how much time 3 years is in the
Well, how
NBA?
different are the Jazz than they were 3 years ago? How different is this team than it was 3 years ago? How different are the Knicks than they were 3 years ago? How different are the Nets than they were 3 years ago? Look at what the Warriors went through in the last 3 years. Do you have any idea how much changes in this league in 3 years?
Yeah, dude. Dude.
Come on. Prismac from Poland, my Polish brother.
How we doing?
Or maybe we should give a match to Draymond Green to pair him with Vanderbilt. Imagine Green and Beverly together on the court. That would be insane. I can't even imagine that. I cannot even imagine that. What's going to happen in this town when the Jazz win a championship? I have no idea.
Change. I mean, nothing's going to change. I think that if they were to win a championship, I mean, it would be great for sports here, obviously. That would be amazing. I would love that. But I think that not much is going to change,
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's an interesting thing to contemplate. That is an interesting thing to contemplate. M. Alvarez says, hey, Tribune, this is what run players like Don out of town. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
But
that's what it looks like.
And again, I think it really needs to be said. I don't have an issue with independent, hardcore accountability reporting. No. I don't have an issue with that. In fact, that's what our brand is. We're telling you the truth in Salt Lake City sports, right? That's what we do. But what I have an issue with is making things up or just not being, somehow there is a fly down here.
But I don't know.
I don't know how that's possible. Anyway, the point is what I don't have an issue with is factual accountability led reporting, but I do have an issue with the making up thing or the stretching thing, as I like to call it. That comment about the feeling around the league. What the hell does that? That's my issue with Windhorst and some of the other guys. The feeling around the league. What does that mean? It's a great example, and this is no fault to Woj at all. Woj just doing his job, right? Totally just doing his job. But look at what happened. So Woj, tweets one thing, and then a week later will follow up on that tweet because that's absolutely his job, and he does a damn good job of it. He'll follow up and say, hey, sources or the feeling around the league or, whatever the case may be. And then everybody in Salt Lake takes that and says, oh, they're trading him. They're 100% trading him. It's over. That's the issue in this town. There's not a 1 + 1 = 2. There's not a stream of information leading to the answer, which is why we've been saying for how long now, hey, yeah, if someone calls Danny Ainge and gives them the farm, yeah, they might trade Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, they might. But they don't want to trade Donovan Mitchell. They're not out shopping Donovan Mitchell. We've been saying that for weeks now. And where are we at with the whole situation? Right where we started.
Yeah. It is what it is. I don't know. Chiron 26 says, I wonder what would happen if people started to boycott these media outlets. I'd love to see it. Dax Johnson. Dax. What's up, bro?
Johnson.
Morning, boys. Worked 17 hours yesterday and back at it again today at 6 a.m. And guys keep me going through the day. Go Cougs. Thanks, Dax. Appreciate you being here,
Dax.
man.
And way to be a workhouse, man. That's not easy, bro.
Darn right. Antonio Ruiz says, if he was so happy there, it's an easy question to answer. Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know that I would classify Donovan Mitchell as happy. And I don't know that is
happy where? What do you mean?
In Salt Lake. I don't know. I don't know. One of the things I always say is I don't speak for players. I don't speak for people. I just think you're playing a dangerous game. And Donovan Mitchell's a grown-ass man. When he wants somebody to know he's unhappy here, trust me, they will know.
Oh, it's like the Kyler Murray thing, right? I mean, Kyler Murray didn't say anything, and then the contract thing happened, and all of a sudden he's on a podium. I mean, these guys will
Funny
speak.
how that works.
Yeah, they'll speak when they feel like they need to speak.
Ruff's official, good morning. He says, I bet Don asked to be traded. Watch it will come out after the trade that he asked for it. Could be. I mean, I'd be shocked. We have heard repeatedly from Don's people, from league sources, from the guys we talked to at the Jazz, have all said he's never asked to be traded. That Donovan Mitchell has spent this summer being very quiet. He has had pretty regular contact with the Jazz. At the end of the season, they had very productive, honest, blunt conversations about where he was, where they were. He is known for going on 9 months now that they were going to trade Rudy Gobert. Donovan Mitchell's known that.
Yeah.
And Don has never, not one time, asked to be traded from what I've been told repeatedly. And could that be incorrect? Sure, it could be incorrect. Donovan is in Germany right now. Donovan is on vacation with his family, still working out, still playing basketball.
You think he's going to sign with the German league?
I just think that if Donovan Mitchell was going to demand a trade, it would have been very public by now. It would have been very public because I am no fool. I am not blind. The Jazz talk to us when they need something in the media. That's the purpose we serve, which is why we don't just hear from the Jazz and go running to the microphone. You have to bounce what you're hearing around the league and confirm it.
Yeah.
And we have confirmed multiple times Donovan Mitchell is not asked to be traded. I can't say it any simpler than that.
And by the way, I have to say again, and I'm going to keep saying it, we have heard things and been told things that we were unable to confirm, which is why you don't know about them, because we didn't say it. That's the responsibility you have in the media.
And the funny thing is, we have heard those things. They'll show up in the Salt Lake Tribune and then be debunked. It's remarkable to me how many times that has happened.
Hey, guys.
I don't see it in the Deseret News. I don't see it in the Athletic from Tony Jones, but I see it in the Salt Lake Tribune. Like we will hear some crazy rumor. Nobody else will confirm it. One person will say it, and then we'll try to get it confirmed. No confirmation. And then it'll show up in the Tribune. And it's not surprising. It is not surprising at all. That has happened 3-4 times.
Yeah.
3-4, easily, probably 3-4 times in the last 6 months. That's happened. And it's mind-boggling to me. Spencer Morgan, good morning. Trading DM now does make sense if you've decided to rebuild and if you have indications that he won't resign when his contract is up. I don't think his contract being up is any part of their thought process, even a little bit. It is the idea that you would trade Donovan Mitchell because something's going to happen in 3 years is ludicrous.
And it doesn't add up with what we've been told and what we've reported. Like, think about it. Why would you, 9 months ago, when you told Don, ahead of schedule that you were going to trade Rudy Gobert, right? Like, we told you they were going to trade Rudy Gobert, and then a couple weeks later, we also told you that the Utah Jazz and Donovan Mitchell have a relationship where they can tell him, hey, this is what's going to happen with this player, and we want you to know before anybody else knows, right? So why would they do that? Only to then, after the season, go ahead and trade him. Right? When he's not publicly requested a trade, we've been told, as you just said, not to repeat what you just said, but he's never asked for a trade. It doesn't make sense.
No,
we're going off of, respectfully, Spencer, and I'm not trying to go after you, man, but I just want you to see it from my side. You're going off of tea leaves. You're going off of rumorville. Like read it one more time.
Trading Donovan Mitchell now does make sense if you have decided to rebuild and if you have indications that he won't resign when his contract is up. Better to get trade value now.
So if you decided to rebuild, if you have indications, there's a lot of ifs there. The fact is they don't have indications he's going to ask for a trade or not resign. There hasn't been any behavior that suggests a rebuild yet. As I've told you repeatedly, I think you're not in rebuild mode right now. You're in retool. You're in, hey, we're going to be a playoff team through this process. That's not a rebuild.
If you were rebuilding, why did you take Malik Beasley? Why did you why did you bring in veteran players? Like, I think if they were completely rebuilding, you likely would have traded Donovan Mitchell first
to the Knicks.
They haven't done a lot of things that make you think they're retooling or rebuilding. Much more of a retool.
Yes.
That to me is what.
And that's what I'm saying. I want to make it really clear. I'm not trying to take you through the ringer, Spencer, but that's what I mean when I say, hey, there's a lot of conjecture. There's a lot of, the feeling around the league if they have indications. There is no feeling around the league. They don't have indications. That's the issue.
Connor says it's about optics. Why not say I'm a Jazz man?
Now, I agree with this. I do agree with this side of it. Donovan has had opportunities to solidify his position. Now, it doesn't help him. By speaking does not help him.
Nothing he says is gonna help him.
It doesn't help him. He's not incentivized to say anything, but I don't disagree with the comment that it takes literally 30 seconds to tweet or maybe even update a bio, because that's the level of pettiness that people are at in the world, where you can you can say, like, I'm a Jazz man, or whatever he would say to make Jazz fans feel better. And that's truly, if I'm being honest, that's what I think the issue is. I think that people are insecure about the Jazz just being a garbage, god-awful basketball team for like 5 years, that they want to ride this train of, well, they're trading Donovan, we're going right back into negativity-ville.
Well, and I just don't think players of this generation care to use the media. They just don't. Yeah. They don't trust the media, the fake news narrative that's been going on in this country for 6 years. Like,
Twitter's been going crazy.
I think there is just a general lack of accountability in the media, as we're talking about today. I think there's a lack of trust from the athlete to the reporter. I think that's why relationships matter. That's why getting raked over the coals on Twitter because, a player came after you, that matters. You don't ever get over that. You do not ever get over it. It's why you have to be held accountable by your bosses in media. It's why you have to, frankly, you have to hold yourself to an incredibly high standard.
Think about the position, and I have no problem saying this. Think about the position we're in on this show. We're referred to as those little guys on YouTube.
No, the hacks on
Spence hacks on YouTube.
Spence Checkets routinely calls us the hacks on YouTube.
So if we get one thing wrong, just one thing, our credibility's gone because we're not ESPN 700, right?
We don't have the built-in advantages that others do, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
but it's why we don't. It's why we don't take risks on this show. It's why. I'm just telling you, man, like this whole Donovan Mitchell thing is crazy.
Yeah.
It is. It's
It
crazy.
is the ultimate cesspool of reaching and stretching, for sure.
Kenai Johnson, good morning, KJ, says there's a new generation in the house of Jazz. Jazz fans have gotten used to the old generation trading our star players. This was a transition from old to new. The Millers were stuck in the old. The Millers, frankly, once LHM passed, with all due respect to Gail, she was not building a winner. She was building a cash machine. They were selling cars. They were selling movie tickets. They were built to make money for their other businesses. That's what the Jazz did. And frankly, they did it very well. They sold a lot of cars. They filled a lot of theaters. They did very well with that. But when Ryan Smith bought the team, the clear edict was to win a championship. And I think that's why you had to let Dennis Lindsey go. That's why you have to bring in a guy who frankly doesn't care what you think, and Danny Ainge, and you have to turn him loose.
And he will every single time.
And I think that's what you've seen.
And that's why they traded Rudy Gobert.
So Spencer Morgan says, seems like you guys would have us believe that all the national media and Andy Larson are just making things up. And when Don leaves, it's not because they were into something. I'm not saying that people are making things up. That's not at all what we would have you believe. What I would have you believe is there's no reason to write this shit just because the news cycle is slow.
What facts are there?
Nobody, hear me clearly on this. Nobody in the NBA is making a trade because of what's going to happen 3 years down the road. Nobody. I've been in this game too long. I have covered the best executives in basketball, from Jerry West to Bob Myers to Danny Ainge. None of them, not a single one of them, are making a trade because their player's under contract and he's going to walk away in 3 years.
Facts.
In 3 years. And if this were the first time, I could almost write that off to, well, it's August and it's a slow news cycle. But it's not the first time. It's like the 100th time.
And it won't be the last.
And as far as the national guys go, there's only one, and it is Adrian Wojnarowski. Shams has not really been a Jazz guy. He's not somebody that routinely breaks Jazz news. I know factually that Adrian Wojnarowski is very highly connected with the Utah Jazz. They talk to him. They give him information, as they should, because he can be trusted and he has been honorable. I look at the situation with the Tribune. The Utah Jazz do not talk to the Salt Lake Tribune. They have not. They will not. This current locker room, I think, as much as it is changing, as long as Donovan Mitchell is here, they will not talk to the Salt Lake Tribune. They won't. Agents, players, executives in this organization have told me they do not trust the Salt Lake Tribune. They do not believe that they can go to the Salt Lake Tribune and give them information that it will be handled responsibly. The Jazz do not talk to the Salt Lake Tribune.
Yeah.
And listen, man, Spencer, you can say that we'd have this or that. It's just not accurate. We're talking about the body of work, period. The body of work at the Salt Lake Tribune lacks ethics, it lacks credibility, and it certainly lacks professionalism. To write this piece, to say that in 3 years, NBA people believe
The feeling around the league.
the feeling around the NBA is something's going to happen in 3 years?
Come on.
Get out of here. Like, I'm telling you, this is why this will play a role in Donovan Mitchell's departure from this team.
And for all the new listeners,
just will.
I want to say we're independent. We're not married to anybody. We don't have bosses. Like, we own this show. This is what we do.
I am not invested in the outcome of the Utah Jazz. If the Jazz win a championship, it is far better for this show than if they're terrible.
Yeah.
Because if the Jazz are terrible, Jazz fans are hiking. They are not watching YouTube. If the Jazz are, if the Jazz are in the playoffs, if the Jazz are making runs, if the Jazz are trading Rudy Gobert and bringing in a haul, Jazz fans are engaged. If you trade Donovan Mitchell and it's neither good nor bad for our show. If you trade Don and they tank and they lose for the next 5 years, it's not good for us at all.
Yeah.
So our investment is in winning. Our investment is in, hey, here's what's happening with the Jazz. That's what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. Our investment is in current events, not what's going to happen in 3 years, which you cannot predict.
Which, by the way, I also think that what's happening with the Utah Jazz, this conversation we're having this morning, is super relevant to what's happening to the Utah Jazz. Because, again, this coverage absolutely affects guys like Donovan Mitchell or any of the other names that you know. Is it, by the way, is it any secret? And I thought this was a little tidbit when Royce got traded. Any surprise that Royce went to Summer League? Any surprise that Royce was kind of out in the eye? He was being seen. When's the last time you saw Royce O'Neal do anything?
Working with Donovan's trainer now. working with David Alexander. Almost every day, David Alexander posts a video of somebody like a Don. Somebody like Royce.
Yeah.
I think Royce has been on David Alexander's Instagram story 10 times. Like, very clearly. And this is why Ben Simmons went to Summer League.
Yes.
Because a guy like Ben Simmons knows how to leverage the media. Donovan Mitchell isn't talking to the media because, frankly, I just don't think he cares to give any information.
Yeah.
Why would he?
And that includes us, by the way.
What is the win?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ty Sullivan is very difficult to get a hold of. He is very difficult to get a hold of by design. When's the last time somebody quoted Ty Sullivan? I have his cell phone number. I have his email. I text him. I email him. I might hear from Ty Sullivan 1 out of every 10 times. Might. 1 out of every 10 times. They don't want narratives about themselves from themselves in the media. They just don't.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with it. I don't have a problem with it.
Yep.
And this is why I say when you guys are asking, well, why not just come out and say you want to be in Salt Lake City? For what? What's the win? What's the gain? What does Donovan Mitchell have to gain by saying, oh yeah, I want to be in Salt Lake City. I play for the Utah Jazz. He put out on Instagram last night. So the Jazz, I think it was Twitter and Instagram. The Jazz tweeted a picture of Donovan Mitchell dunking on the New York Knicks. Everybody was like, oh my God. And then Donovan replied with a video on Instagram of himself dunking on the New York Knicks. Oh! So they hate each other? So they're posting videos back and forth? This is ridiculous.
You see what I mean?
It's ridiculous. I'm amazed by it. I'm amazed by it. Casey Finland says shipping Gordon Monson on down the river from local radio media after the sale of the team is a sign that there is no trust in the Trib, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Gordy is a guy that is a very interesting example. Gordon Monson is kept alive in this town by one thing, and that is Spence Checketts, who has him on his show occasionally. But the idea, and Gordon Monson is a very interesting guy in the general landscape of Utah media. Mm-hmm. Because I think when you look at Gordon's performance, like think about what was Gordon Monson entertaining to you on the radio? Could you in any way, shape, or form relate to Gordon Monson on the radio? No, you couldn't. Gordon Monson projects as a 7,000-year-old man. Like he projects as an older guy who talks slowly. He has that deep voice, which is great. Go write me a column. Don't get on my radio station. Mm-hmm. But how long was he allowed to exist at the Zone? How long if you listen to the voices in this market that are on the radio, can you really relate to DJ and PK? I don't even know how old they are, but they skew much older, right? If you think about the guys that are on your radio on a daily basis, and I know radio listening is way down and everybody says
it's
ad
dying
spends and you know, I listen, I totally understand that. People listen to the radio on a limited basis, I think. But if you listen to the radio in this town, who can you really relate to? Can you relate to Spence Checketts? Well, his family are billionaires, and I think that separates him from a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But Spence is probably the most relatable one. I mean, if you look at anybody else, and without naming specific people, you look at anybody else on the Zone. Like, I don't know what Uncharted or whatever it's called in the afternoon. Like, I might have been able to listen to that show 3 times in my life. Mm-hmm. Like, I just can't do it. I can't. Like, those guys, like, there's a show on the Zone. There's a show on the Zone. I flip on the Zone the other day. We're driving to a client meeting. Mm-hmm. We flip on the Zone the other day. And they're talking about how the MLB trade deadline is this and that on the wrong day. Oh, it's today at this. No, it's
they
not.
said it was Monday, and it was actually Tuesday.
They said it was Monday at noon.
Yeah.
And it was Tuesday at 4. Like, you're not even in the ballpark. You're not even in the ballpark.
See what he did there?
Right? Like, but you look at a lot of these other issues, and they just don't know. Like, listening to, with all due respect, listening to Hans Olsen try to talk Jazz is painful. Now, Hans Olsen talking BYU, fantastic. Hans Olsen talking Jazz basketball is brutal. So my point is, you can't rely on what's on the radio here. You cannot. And again, everybody says, well, you're just ripping the media because you can't get in. Everybody has asked us. Everybody has asked us.
Yep.
A year ago or whatever, people were asking us, hey, bring your podcast here. Hey, you guys want to do this? Hey, you guys want to do fill-ins? Hey, no, we don't. We don't. And it's worked out splendidly, frankly. We have more. Do you realize on this show that we are doing about 110,000 viewers in the state of Utah, which there's not a radio show that wouldn't kill to have 110,000 listeners. We're doing 110,000 a month. And it's not because I think we're special or great. I think there's nowhere else to go. I honestly think that. I think we work very hard to put on a good show every day.
Yeah.
Our advertisers are fantastic. Like, we have great ad partners, whether that's Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage, Steve and the guys at Barbecue Pit Stop. Like, the outpouring of ad support, the number of people wanting to advertise on our show is incredible. And we appreciate that. I honestly think it's not because we're special or unique. I just think that there's not a whole lot here to listen to.
Yeah, man.
There's not a whole lot here to watch.
Yeah.
The other amazing thing is, do you know how difficult it is to stream anything on your phone in this town? Do you know how hard it is to figure out where can I listen to Jazz talk on my phone?
Well, right here.
Right here. That's why I think we have the advantage we have.
Yeah.
Honest to God. And because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're the best show, or that's up to you.
Again, that's opinion.
That's up to you. I'm never going to sit here and tell you we're the best at what we do. All I can tell you is we're very fortunate to have landed when we landed and where we landed. Because if I never come here in 2013, if I don't move to Utah in 2013, we're not having this conversation now.
Yeah.
So,
100% true.
Anyway, speaking of our advertisers, we want to remind you that we are sending a listener and a +1, 2 people going to see BYU and Notre Dame in the Shamrock Series at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas on October 7th and 8th. You get a pair of tickets to the game. You get 2 nights at the Palms Casino and Resort. And we're giving you a $250 gas card to get you there. And it is all presented by our good friend Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage. NMLS number 278-545-801. 543-9666, 801-543-9666 is the number to call him. Devery's written 3 mortgages for me. He has written mortgages for just about everyone that I know. Devery Davis can be trusted with your money. Your money in mortgage right now, you're at a critical time. Rates are low. They have plummeted over the last 7 to 10 days. Days on market for homes is huge. Prices of houses in Utah are plummeting. There is an opportunity right now for you to buy a house, but you need to walk into that house with the ability to be a cash buyer, and Devery Davis will make you a cash buyer. Because the other thing that's great about Devery Davis is you're not just going to a mortgage mill. You're not going where you're going to be file number 69. You're going to a place at Academy Mortgage and Devery Davis where he's going to know your name. Hey, Steve, it's Devery Davis. Hey, Devery, how are you? I am only friends with Devery because we've done business together. And that's how the guy is. He's your friend for life, man.
Yes.
You're gonna do a mortgage with him. You're gonna send your friends to him, your family to him, because you trust him, because he takes good care of you. It's one-on-one personal service, whether you want to call him, text him, email him. Devery's great about getting back to you. His staff is fantastic. You go to Devery, you say, okay, hey, great, let's apply for a mortgage. Let's get pre-qualified. He works with you one-to-one. His underwriter is great. Like, everything that Devery does is done perfectly with you in mind, and that's why you trust Devery Davis when you're ready to write a mortgage. Call him today, 801-543-9666. Even if you're not ready to buy a house because you think you can't afford a down payment, that's just not the case. He's got programs. Devery at Academy Mortgage has programs to help you afford your down payment on the house that you want. He can get you into the house you've always wanted.
Facts.
You just got to make one phone call. 801-543-9666. Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage. NMLS number 278-545. Devery Davis and Academy Mortgage are equal housing lenders. And, of course, our friends at Barbecue Pit Stop. They're amazing. Every location in Utah has an enter to win box on the counter. We personally went to every location this past week. We were up in Logan. They actually have a live butcher at the barbecue pit stop in Logan.
Is wild, man.
It
Absolutely.
is.
Like the Yoder selection. They have a full butcher. Like, and again, we've been shopping at barbecue pit stop for years. I mean, literally years. We have an Ironwood.
Back in the K-Fan days, barbecue pit stop was one of the early supporters of K-Fan. And I think that's a big reason why we're in business with them now. Because they're just good dudes. It's like a lifestyle thing.
Yeah, and you walk in there, and the funny thing is, like, you walk in there, and they're like, hey, what's going on, man? Like, they're super energetic, young guys. Like, they know what they're talking about. And I don't have, like, 1,001 questions to ask them. Usually I know what I want when I go in there. But I have in the past asked them, like, hey, man, I'm doing fish, and I'm frankly not a big fish guy. But Mrs. Monty is a big fish person, loves her some halibut, loves her some salmon, whatever the case may be. I had no idea how to season a fish, but they did. And they helped, and my golly, that thing turned out great, like really good.
And I know that owning a smoker or buying a smoker seems intimidating. It's not, though. Like, you're going to go into barbecue pit stop in Logan, Lehigh, Layton, Salt Lake City, Murray, or St. George, and you're going to say, hey, I've been thinking about buying a smoker, but it seems like it's not. They're going to teach you how to work it. They're going to teach you how to set it up. And if you get into a situation like, man, I don't know if I can make a brisket, you can go back to them. You can call them and say, hey, I bought my smoker from you guys. Or even if you didn't, you can say, hey, I have a Traeger, or, I have a Yoder smoker, or a Big Green Egg, or a Camp Chef. Like, I'm going to do a brisket. Can you guys give me some tips? Like, how do I season this thing? Or how long do I need to leave it on? What temperature would you guys recommend I cook a brisket at? Boom. They can tell you, all right, hey, XYZ, do it this way. Try this. Wrap it in foil. Put it in a cooler. Put it on this. Like, that's the best part about barbecue pit stop. They're just guys. And you get, one of the things you'll notice about all of our partners on this show, they're small local business owners. Guys like Barbecue Pit Stop, Steve and the guys at Barbecue Pit Stop, in every one of those stores, those are all small business owners. Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage is a small business owner. Our guys at Max Muscle in South Jordan, Taylor and Caitlin, those are small business owners. They're here. They're local. They're Utahns. Like,
so when you guys came out on Friday and crushed it, that was amazing. Like, that was exactly what we need for our show to keep growing.
You pumped money into the local economy, and we appreciate you. That's how this show works. We need you to move your money to our advertisers. We need you to go buy smokers. We need you to go to, and, hey, call Devery Davis and get qualified for a mortgage. That's the stuff that we do. And as you see, more ad partners will be coming on. That's what we need from you guys. And you do such a good job of supporting us. And I think that's, one of the reasons we do things like a BYU flyaway or drive-away. We're going to have a Utah promotion coming up. We're going to have a Denver Bronco game promotion coming up. The reason we do this stuff is because we want to give back to you.
Yes.
So if you want to go and see BYU and Notre Dame at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, get to these barbecue pit stop locations on the screen: Logan, Lehigh, Layton, Salt Lake, and St. George. There's an enter to win box with our ugly faces right on the front of it. Fill out the slip, drop it in the box, and then come and see us Saturday, September 17th, Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh. We're going to have a watch party. BYU and Oregon are playing at Autzen Stadium in Eugene that day. We're going to have wings, pizza. We're going to have free food for you. And then at halftime, we're going to draw the winner, and we're going to give away the trip for two to see BYU and Notre Dame in Las Vegas. You get a $250 gas card to get you there, 2 tickets to the game, and 2 nights at the Palms Casino Resort. And it's all presented by our good friends, Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage, and all of our friends at Barbecue Pit Stop in Utah, presenting the BYU Shamrock Series Drive Away. All
right, how on fire is the comment section?
A couple of more comments. Let's see. Stephen Fox says, never miss Barbecue Pitmasters. Love that show.
That's the other thing, too, I noticed. I didn't actually know this about Barbecue Pit Stop until I was looking into their stuff a couple weeks ago. They do competition stuff, too. So if you're one of those guys that, like, is a competition smoker guy and, like, you have a certain type of setup and pellets and, like, the way you go about your process, they can help in that realm, too, which I think is sick. It's not just that it's a store where you can go and get supplies. They'll teach you how to cook something, and they can help you with the competition stuff. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, and I'm personally a Traeger guy, but just because I own Traeger doesn't mean that you have to. I mean, they have a selection. They have every price point you want, too, by the way. Let's see. Dop Hop says this stream deserves more morning likes. Yeah, give us some thumbs up. Always appreciate that. Steve Peterson says I've never listened to sports talk shows in my life, but this show I make sure I tune in like every morning at 6:30. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man. Seriously, thank you.
AJ Rich Young says you sold me a house with that ad. Great ad. Oh, thank you, AJ Rich. I appreciate that. Top Junkie, what's up, my man? He said Top Junkie is a Knicks fan.
Oh, okay.
I feel DM has carried himself extremely well. Shaq blasted him after a win on live TV. Utah media throwing DM under the bus. Trade rumors galore, but yet has not demanded a trade. Come home to New York, DM.
But
I think he has handled himself well.
Let me ask you this. I have a question just because you're a Knicks fan, I'm curious. Do you think if Donovan got traded to the Knicks, do you think he'd be a problem in New York media? Like, because you're a Knicks fan, I don't know if you live in New York, but obviously you're a Knicks fan. You have a lot of experience. Do you think that Donovan Mitchell would struggle with the media in New York? What do you like? Because I think that people believe that because Donovan Mitchell doesn't do a lot of media, that he would struggle with like a more robust media, if you will, or a more aggressive media, if you will.
Right. I think that's a really, you know what, it's funny. Joey Gallo from the Yankees. I'm a huge baseball fan. We are huge baseball fans on this show.
Yep.
Joey Gallo got traded from the Yankees yesterday.
Yeah.
And he gave one of the more interesting interviews after the trade. And he said that one of the things that hurt him, he used the word hurt. He said, when the fans booed me off the field the other night against the Royals, after the game, several of the Royals reached out to Joey Gallo, who frankly has not been good for the Yankees. He went to New York. He strikes out a lot. He is not a high percentage hitter. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that's there to bang, and there hasn't been a lot of bing from Joey Gallo, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The fans were merciless on him. The media in New York was merciless on him. So they trade him to the Dodgers, and he says the Kansas City players called him the other night to console him because the Yankee fans so loudly booed him off the field.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Gallo said that made him feel like a piece of crap. He said it made me feel awful. I felt terrible. The fans booing me was awful. That's what New York does to people.
He's a bum.
And yeah, seriously, that's what you're in for if you're Donovan Mitchell trying to get to New York. It's not for everyone. I will tell you that. Tanner Plummer, good morning, my friend. He says, funny story. I went to the barbecue pit stop in Lehigh, and while I was entering the BYU Notre Dame thing, I asked the guys at the desk if he listens to your show, and he said, yes. Okay. I then said, they're awesome, and he was like, yeah, I guess. Thanks, Tanner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, guys.
I strongly disagree with many of your takes, Richard McDonald says, but I like you as people and enjoy the show. Keep it on. Utes suck. Okay.
Well,
I wouldn't say that. They're
we're going to go over that
nation in a minute. We'll tell you why. Lewis Selder says Utes rule. Eric and Raleigh says New York isn't for the faint of heart. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Stephen Fox says Knicks fans will torch DM if he shows a lack of effort on defense like he demonstrated against Dallas with Brunson and Dinwiddie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it'll be interesting to
true.
see if he gets to New York, how that'll go down.
Yeah. A lot of people commenting. Let's see. Giggity says, morning, fellas. What everyone seems to miss with Don is that he clearly is switching sports and wants to be on the Mets next year.
I mean, he did take batting. Dude, he took batting practice.
He said that's what his tweets mean, right? Yeah. Yes, Giggity.
He took batting practice, just saying.
Lewis Selder says, I have mad respect for David Locke. Well, David Locke's living his dream.
Yeah.
David Locke, I think he tweeted it's his 13th anniversary as the voice of the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, and I think David does a great job. Like, I think that David, it's no secret. I don't think this is some hot take that, hey, he works for the team. Like, he does a great job.
Yeah.
I don't think you go, like, respectfully, I don't think you go to David Locke for an unbiased, like, take on the state of the Jazz. I think you go to David Locke for Jazz talk, and there's nothing wrong with that.
T-Money says, you most definitely ain't special. Well, thanks, T-Money.
Yeah. Special enough that you're watching and commenting, which I appreciate.
Yeah, thank you. Tanner says, I can relate to DJ mainly because he calls RSL games. Yeah, David James is the TV voice of RSL. I think if David James was with who's a young guy? Ben Anderson. I think it youngs up Ben Anderson, or it youngs up David James. The issue is DJ and PK are older guys, and they are slow. They are very slow.
That's my biggest struggle, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't even care to get into who's the best in the town or who does the best show. Like, I don't care about any of that. All I care about is, hey, do you do a show that I can that is quick enough or has enough pace to keep me? Because I can't do this is the show and let me look at these papers over here and like I can't do that. That's not my flow.
Kanai Johnson says New York media and fans will either make you or break you. You got to be tough in New York. Yes, you do. Colby, good morning too. He says that's what happens when you refuse to change your approach at the plate. Well, and the Yankees, do I say it out loud? What? I'm actually a huge Yankees fan, even more now that Anthony Rizzo is on that club.
Right.
As a diehard Cubs fan. I mean, my baseball fandom is, the Padres are probably my number 2, but I'm a big Yankee fan. Watching the way that game ended last night was infuriating. You have 3 pretty damn good at-bats. Judge draws a walk. Anthony Rizzo absolutely spits on fastballs outside.
Yep.
Bases loaded, 2 outs, they're down 2. And Gleyber Torres comes up and looks like a fool at the plate.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely looks
terrible
like a fool.
At bat.
Was an awful at bat. That was and you're right. Joey Gallo, a lot of times, terrible at bats. Zayman says, New York will suck your will to live and then change you a fortune for one room rat infested dive. Charge you a fortune. Yeah, well, it's not cheap to live there.
Yeah, but you got the bread.
Richard McDonald says if Utes and Cougs played again this year, Utes would lose by 21. I don't know, man.
I don't know about all that.
I don't know. Maybe that's a good jumping off point to talk about how CBS Sports has rated the Utah Utes the 4th team in the country. They have them ranked number 4 in the country, behind Alabama 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia number 3.
Georgia.
And the Utah Utes, our little Ute boys.
Yeah, up on the hill there.
Number 4 in the country, according to CBS Sports. Quite a tip of the cap to Kyle Whittingham in that program.
Yes.
And I'm interested to see how many Utah fans actually agree with them being ranked number 4. Now, obviously, you have issues. You're going to have to find a wide receiver to be your unquestioned number 1 guy. You're going to have to find linebackers that'll step up and replace a pretty darn good core of linebackers that are now in the NFL. But if I had to guess, you're going to be fine with Cam at quarterback. I think you're going to be fine. Your running game obviously is very strong. I think this defense is going to be good. I am one of the people in the camp that believe the Utah Utes have depth and strength at linebacker. And by the way, Kyle Whittingham's your head coach. You're going to be very good defensively.
Yeah.
He is a guy, obviously, that you take your life in your hands when you question his ability to build a defense. But I think one of the other questions that you have to ask here, Jake, is can the Utah Utes play their way into the Big 12?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're more than capable of it. I mean, you can go up and down the schedule, and you can look at, like, obviously everyone knows the kickoff is Florida. Everyone knows that. You got to win that game. But going through their schedule, I just don't believe they have a ton of tests, if I'm being honest. I don't think that Southern Utah is a test for Utah. San Diego State, that's probably going to be a pretty competitive game. They should roll Arizona State. You should roll Oregon State. You should roll UCLA. SC is the game of consequence, because by the time you get to SC, you should be, 6-0, I believe it is here. So, if you're 6-0 going into SC, you feel a little more comfortable about that. Now, if you're, 4-2, let's say, well, that's a must-win game for you. So I think that SC game is sort of a benchmark on the calendar. I then go forward. You should beat Washington State, Arizona, Stanford. That should be 3 wins right there. So minimum, you got 7 wins here, no problem. Then you've got Oregon. That should be an interesting game. You're in Eugene at Autzen. Like that's a tester, but that's a game I feel like they're more than capable of winning. And then you should handle Colorado. So when we talk about BYU being better than Utah, I don't quite see it. I see a schedule for Utah that, while it has tests, is more than manageable. So yes, I do think they can play their way into the Big 12. And by the way, I think they have more to play for this season than they've ever had to play for with where the Pac-12 is at and their mission to get to the Big 12. I think you have to be a one-loss team this year.
I think it's going to be very difficult for Utah to take this season a game at a time. Now, my guess also is that by the time we kick off, in Florida. I think you're going to see a decision's already been made. I think the Big 12 is not going to sit here and wait for this season to play out and hope. I think the Big 12 realizes that they are teetering on extinction, maybe not as much as the Pac-12 is, but certainly the Big 12 is one big team loss away from being exactly where the Pac-12 is now.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see that this situation probably resolves itself within the month. I would hopefully, man, it would be great to resolve itself within a week.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at Utah, I absolutely think they can play their way into the Big 12 if they get the chance to do that, because I think they're going to go down to Florida and I think they're going to stomp the Gators. I think the Utah Utes are a far better team than the Florida Gators are. I think you have stability at quarterback. You have stability on the coaching staff. You have stability on that defensive system. I think you're bringing back a running back that has proven to be more than capable of being a workhorse. Again, my biggest question is going to be, what are you going to have at wide receiver? Is there going to be one guy that's going to step up and really take the reins as your clear number one wide receiver? Because I think when you lose a leader in the order, in the scope of a Britton Covey, somebody's got to step into that gap. Now, obviously, you have two tight ends in Keithy and Kincaid that likely could be playing in the NFL right now if they wanted to be there, but they've chosen to come back. And I think when you look at those two guys, it makes the job of the wide receiver a lot easier, because you're going to, as a defense, when you're playing the Utah Utes, you're going to have to pay attention in the middle of the field.
Yes.
And I think they're going to be monsters in the red zone, as they have been. And I think that's going to make your job, again, as a wide receiver, you're going to have more room to the pylon in the red zone. I think you're going to have more room on the outside because you have to really respect the hash if you are a defense taking on the Utah Utes. So it's going to be interesting to see who in that wide receiver room really takes a step forward. But my feeling is this Utah team is going to be much, much better. You don't have a lot of turmoil. You don't have a lot of turnover. You have more consistency and continuity on this offense than you've had. You're not going to have a quarterback situation, health be damned. You are not going to wonder who the number one quarterback is. It's Cam Rising, a guy who last year took over against San Diego State and never looked back. And the other thing he didn't do is he really didn't turn the football over, which when you look at the schedule, you have a lot of clubs that will burn you if you're going to turn the football over. And I think Cam Rising is very effective and efficient with the football, and he protects the football well. And I think when you're playing teams like USC, Lincoln Riley's defense are known to get after that ass. When you're playing teams like Florida, who's always got athletes, that's going to be a very important trait.
Yes.
So it will be interesting to see exactly how Utah comes out of this year. But I think this number 4 rating from CBS, where you are putting the Utah Utes in the same conversation as you are with two of the powerhouses of college football in Alabama and Ohio State, in a newly arrived powerhouse in Georgia and Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
Putting the Utah Utes in that conversation, I mean, that is nothing short of spectacular, and it is nothing short of a tip of the cap.
Yeah, I think it's major respect. And I think that, again, I think the Utes deserve it. Like, I think, what football fans nationally, or like people who aren't, in the state, what they don't understand is all the adversity you went through. And I think that's part of this number 4 overall ranking in the preseason. Guys who cover, or reporters, or people who cover college football and have covered the Utes, they understand, hey man, like, this program went through huge adversity, losing teammates, like bad things happening, rumors that Witt was going to retire. Like, you had all this stuff happening, and you still got to the Rose Bowl. You still persevered. You still got the job done. So when I look at the Utes, I say, hey man, your schedule, while obviously is loaded with the Pac-12 right now, that's fine for you, because you need some of these gimmies. You need the Southern Utahs. You need the Arizona States. You need the Arizonas. Like, you need those games, because you're going to roll those teams. And I also think, as usual in college football, it's not just whether you win or lose the game. It's how you win the game. It's how you lose. So if you're rolling Stanford by 20, you're going to look pretty good. If you roll Southern Utah by 40, you're going to look pretty good. Like, that's the caliber of football that I would expect out of this program. I think there's a lot of hesitation. People think that, because guys, staples of last season's team are gone at multiple positions, that this team doesn't backfill, that this team can't replace those guys. What are they going to do in the slot without Britton Covey? I'm pretty sure they got a guy,
Yeah.
So that's why I say I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, and I think in this league, if you can effectively open up the outside of the field, if you can put talented, fast, good hands guys on the sideline, because you run the football well and because you have tight ends that are capable of being game breakers, which the Utes do, I think your offense has a chance to really thrive. And I think they're going to have to execute, and all of this obviously is preseason previews, and you're going to have to execute. You're going to have to come out of fall camp healthy, which, we're seeing obviously in the NFL. We've seen so many injuries. Tim Patrick, by the way, Utah Ute alum, tore his ACL, is out for the year, which is a real bummer because I think he again had a chance to have a really big year. But you got to stay healthy through fall camp, and you got to get to you got to get to the swamp with some passion and
momentum.
Power. And I think momentum's a really good word. Come out of fall camp with momentum, and I think you're going to be in good shape, and I think they will do that.
Well, and I think the best point you made there was putting guys in position to be successful. And I think we lose sight of that in sports. Like, obviously we talk a ton of Jazz, but whether you're applying it to Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz or the Utes or the Cougars or whatever, when you put guys in positions where their strengths shine, the rate of success is obviously going to go way up. And I think in college athletics specifically, you got to do that more, right? Like, give Cam some options. Like, run the ball, open up the passing game, and let's get going down the field. And I think that's the beautiful thing. In football, if you have a quarterback, you're always in the game. If you've got a quarterback that has control and is calm and composed and knows what he's doing out there, you're in the game. And that's what I think the Utes have now. If you can go through last season and get to the Rose Bowl, I'm pretty sure that you can be a one-loss team this year and do some good things and pave the way to get to the Big 12, without a doubt.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is that you have the ability to look at the future of your program and what it could be if you're the Utah Utes.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to me to see where this team ends up.
Yeah.
Because when you are ranked number 4 coming into the season by CBS Sports, that's saying something. When CBS Sports is putting you with Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, that is a huge.
Clemson at number 5, Notre Dame at number 6.
I mean, that is a huge, huge deal. I mean,
respect.
I think it is one of those things where you could potentially, you could have the best year you've ever had.
Yes.
I mean, it is not accidental that Utah is in that ranking. What do you ultimately think happens with Utah? Because I really think there's a lot of question about whether or not they stay or if they go.
Yeah, I think Utah goes. I think if you're Utah, you understand the landscape. You understand, that the Pac-12, while their commissioner George Klavkov is painting some rosy picture of where the conference is at. In the reality of the situation, you're not in that position. You are fighting for ad dollars. You're fighting for TV money, which you don't have and won't have this year. Is the schedule on their website says Pac-12 networks. That's not good enough, bro. Like, you need better support. And so, where do they go? Where do they end up? I do think it's the Big 12 because I don't think that the Big 10 is looking for it. Obviously, you're not going to the SEC, and I think the ACC is locked. I think, nobody wants to join the ACC right now because you're committed to 2036, and it takes $500 million to leave that conference by most estimations. So where else would you go? I can tell you right now, they're not going to the Mountain West. That's a joke. That's a fantasy land, right? And we talked about that yesterday on the show. So I do think it's the Big 12. The only question that I think remains, if I'm being honest, is just the timing. As you've been saying, like, do we get an announcement before the season begins? Do we get... do we have to wait until next offseason for this announcement? I sure hope not. I would think not, right? Because these things take time and planning, and there's a lot you have to do. But I think they wind up in the Big 12, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. All right, let's see what everybody says about the Utes. Spencer Morgan says Keithy is Utah's number 1 wide receiver. Yeah, I would think so. But there's going to come a time where you're going to have to get the ball down the field on the boundary. I mean, like, you have to throw in this league specifically. You have to throw outside the numbers to win.
Yeah. And
I think that, Brant Keithy is a guy that is dynamic. He has multiple skills, but I also think Kincaid is just as good a receiver. I love that tandem. I love that because playing two tight ends really allows you to do so many different things.
But what opens up the middle, if we're really being honest? Because I don't want to take anything away from that tight end talent. I think Keithy is a hell of a talent, obviously. It goes without saying. But this dynamic that you can create where you have the threat of two tight ends, but then you've got a guy like Devon Veely or one of these guys that projects to be a wide receiver one out there, like, if he can have a big season and he can break out and he can be your guy that gets down the field, your tight ends are already in a better spot. You're already you got a guy that can burn the defense, that intermediate like 10 to 15, maybe 17-yard throw that you need when you're 3rd and 20 with 2 minutes left, that throw is going to be there because of guys like him. So I think, yes, Keithy, but who's going to be that wide receiver option out there that the defense has to respect?
Yeah, I think Greg Hawkins also makes a really good point. He says, we're not the 4th best team, but our schedule, but with our schedule, we could end up in that spot. I would agree. I think there are some really nice built-in advantages in that schedule. I mean, obviously coming out with Florida, who I want to say is in the mid to low 20s in rankings. I think when you look at Florida, I mean, that's a team that if Florida and a win are on your schedule, if you beat Florida at Florida, that's a nice win for you. There is no question about that. The issue is you don't have a rivalry game like BYU. The issue is that you don't have you're not playing 9 great conference games. Because
Florida's at 30.
Florida's at 30. Okay, there you go. So you don't have, you're not in the SEC. You're not in the Big 12 where every game's a battle, right? I mean, obviously your Oregons and your USCs, those are huge games. I mean, when you look at the Utes schedule, you have an opportunity. Their schedule's not easy by any stretch. I mean, and I see all the BYU schedule sucks. BYU's schedule does not suck. It does not. Tanner says 4th is way too high. I actually don't think it is. I mean, I
How
think,
can you say it is?
I think with the talent you lost, that would be easy to say that. You don't lose Lloyd and the kind of talent that you have on that defense. It's not easy to replace that. Their schedule is not easy.
I mean, your schedule is, your schedule. You open with South Florida. Then you're going, you're home for Baylor. You're on the road for Oregon. By the way, come out to Barbecue Pit Stop September 17th. Let's get it done. Wyoming, you're home for Wyoming the 24th. You've got Utah State coming to town the 29th. You play Notre Dame October 8th, as you all well know. And then your biggest opponent after that, you're looking at Arkansas, which is definitely not a joke. That is a quality football team. And I think Boise State. Those two are the ones that you have left. So that's why I say, like, is BYU's schedule as robust as Utah's? No, absolutely not. Do they have a good schedule? Yes, they do. They absolutely do. And I think they have a schedule where, conceivably, if Jaren makes good decisions and doesn't, get hurt or whatever, you could be a one-loss team. Absolutely, I think that's in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I'll just be interested to see what guys like Vele or Ennis or, I mean, obviously, Money Parks is a guy that you'd like to continue his spring. Like, I mean, you're going to need a wide receiver to really show out. I think you're going to need one of those guys, and I think you're going to need. I don't know. I mean, who's your go-to tight end here? I mean, obviously, Brant Keithy is a guy that most people believe has the most talent.
Yeah.
But I think I could make a case that Dalton Kincaid is your go-to in the red zone. I mean, if memory serves, he had more touchdowns last year than Keithy did. But, I mean, either one of those guys, you're going to need one of those guys in double digits, which I think is going to be tough because they take from each other. But, man, I really feel like you have an opportunity to be special offensively, and that's not something that we've said regularly about the Utes.
Well, and where can the program go without all the adversity? I mean, if you're just focused on football the whole year, I mean, what are they capable of? And that's my thing. Yeah. Hey, maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm open to that. Maybe they're a 3-loss team, a 4-loss team, and they have just an average-ass, mediocre season with no, major, NY6 bowl or whatever. Maybe they don't get there. But I just think based on what they did last year, and for those of you who are close to it, about the deaths in the program and all the things they had to go through. I just believe without that adversity this year and just focusing on execution and pushing and like Cam Rising's a perfect example. Not losing your quarterback battle in camp to some kid who quit in week 2, I think it was. Not having to go through that process. Your money. You're rolling in good to go.
Yeah, but I also look at BYU's schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Utah's got a more difficult schedule. I think it's really close. We talked about this yesterday, but at South Florida, I mean, the Bulls have given have given BYU and others trouble.
But would
especially
you
at
agree
home.
that's a game that BYU should win on paper? I mean, to me, I think that's a game you should win.
Should win.
Yeah.
I don't think there's
But it's
any
not a
doubt
gimme.
about that. No. I mean, they're more talented offensively than they've been in a while, too. I mean, I think, obviously, you got to stay healthy. There's no doubt about that. Baylor at home on September 10th. That's a very difficult game. At Oregon on September 17th, we'll do a watch party at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh. That's the day we announce the winner of the trip to Vegas. So you're opening up with USF, you're opening up with Baylor and Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, those are your first 3 games. Wyoming, Utah State. I don't have a real good grasp on how good. I mean, Utah State's bringing back a lot of offensive talent, but I also think BYU's secondary is going to be very good. Then you play Notre Dame and Arkansas back-to-back. I mean,
good luck.
Are you serious? Like that right there, that is 5 games in the first 7 that are absolute ball breakers. And then you're at Liberty, East Carolina, at Boston State. And then your bye is November 12th.
Yeah.
That's not ideal. And I think when you're talking about strength of schedule and, hey, is schedule easy, is schedule difficult, I think having your bye on November 12th has to factor into that. Mm-hmm. You come back with Utah Tech. And then, by the way, you finish at Stanford. I mean, that is a pretty girthy schedule. Like, I mean, for a supposed independent, I mean, that is a pretty girthy schedule. And if you look at Utah and you look at what Utah is going to bring to the yard, and you look at this conference and you look at what is on their schedule, at Florida, obviously that's a very, very important, significant game for Utah. But then you come back at Southern Utah. Okay, throw Utah Tech off the schedule. San Diego State. Okay, Baylor's better than San Diego State, right? And then at Arizona State. Arizona State should be a cakewalk. That should be a 2s and 3s game.
Arizona State is not better than Oregon.
No, they are not. And you're going to find that out November 19th. Oregon State at home. Oregon State's going to be good. At UCLA, home for USC. That's very difficult. Bye week, October 22nd. That's a very good spot for a bye week. At Washington State. Washington State also coming off of a bye. Arizona, Stanford, at Oregon, at Colorado. And I think I can make an argument that those are 2 pretty similar schedules. I mean, who are the difficult games on Utah's schedule here? Florida, obviously. San Diego State, that should be a walk. You should win that game, but you don't have noodle arm quitter quarterback this year to deal with.
Yeah.
You should win that game. I'm not
true.
going to mark that down as a difficult game. I'm not. But so Florida, Oregon State, is Oregon State a difficult game?
Nah, you're at home for that.
You're at home for that. At
win.
UCLA, that's going to be a tough game. So there's 2. USC, that's a tough game. At Washington State, that's a tough game. Arizona, no. Stanford,
No.
at Rice-Eccles.
No, that's a win.
I'm going to say that's a difficult game. At Oregon, difficult game, that's 6. At Colorado's not going to be good, but that's a rivalry game, and Colorado's derailed you more than once in your life. So, I mean, I think they have equally as difficult schedules. So we can stop saying that, one is this and one is that. Ryan Buckley says preseason rankings mean nothing. They don't.
Agreed.
But it's awfully nice when you're trying to get into the Big 12 and you're ranked 4th in the country by an organization that's as respected as CBS Sports.
And I do think that it is. So to say they mean nothing, okay, maybe they don't mean nothing. I agree they're almost meaningless. I do agree with that. But I do think it's a respect play, a tip of the cap, a feather in your cap to rank the Utes number 4 in the nation. Now, they got to come out and prove that. Totally with you. But I think if being ranked number 4 is better than being ranked 69th, right? So I think it's a positive.
I'm sorry, did you say 69?
Yeah, I did. Is there a problem there?
No problem at all. Ruff's official says BYU won't make the top 25 because of their schedule. We'll find out. BYU has got to stay healthy. Jaron Hall has the potential to be one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
He's got to make good choices, man.
And if Gunnar Romney stays healthy and if they run the ball effectively and your mom and your cousin, well, Zach Wilson's mom's best friend, if This secondary for BYU, I think, has the potential to be much, much improved.
Yeah.
Much improved.
They need to be.
Much improved.
Yeah.
And they've got it. Listen, Jaron Hall was not healthy, but neither was that offensive line. Harris LaChance is a huge part of that offensive line. He's got to stay healthy. You've got to replace an enormous amount of production at the running back spot. I think you also have to replace a lot of production at the linebacker. I mean, are your linebackers going to stay healthy? I mean, like all of these things. And by the way, BYU, you've got to kick the football better as well. I mean, continue to excel in special teams. Kick the football better. Like, it's all these little things that add up, and you've got to stay healthy. So yes. I think if BYU is healthy, I think BYU has a chance to be a 2-loss team. I think there's the one game that really worries you on the schedule is Notre Dame, because historically Notre Dame has just been so much bigger than you are.
Yeah.
But BYU is recruited better. They're much bigger than they have been. The Autzen game, that is
it's an important game.
It's a tough place to go.
There's no way around it. That's an important game, and I think Arkansas is crucial.
Yeah, I think you have. Well, it's at home, and I think that's homecoming that week. Like, I mean, you have to win that Arkansas game.
Yeah,
have to. Not optional. Weston Cottam says, is BYU or Utah's schedule tougher? I think it's very close. Greg Hawkins says, LOL, BYU fans, one game in 10 years, and they think it's 1984. Listen, head-to-head,
yes.
This is not a conversation. Utah's had the best of it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. That's why you need this on the schedule every year. How is BYU ever going to
the Big 12?
How's BYU ever going to get even? I don't know if they will. Do you guys think that Utah feels like they're above the Big 12? Their fan base certainly thinks so. I would not think they think that.
I don't look at teams as above anything. I think that it's all about, the situation. So, no, I don't think Utah's above the Big 12, mainly because the Big 12 is their only lifeline right now. Where are you going to go? You're not staying in the Pac-12, right? I mean, I guess you could, but I just don't think that that's a great play, especially, and again, let me use some nomenclature. In the climate of college football.
Nomenclature.
Yeah, in the climate of college football, Utah needs to get to the Big 12. It's time. The momentum's there. Pull the trigger. Do it. Get it done.
Talking football on Monty in the morning, courtesy of our friends at Barbecue Pit Stop. Make sure you go check them out. Logan, Lehigh, Layton, Murray, and St. George. Anything you need for smoking, whether it's rubs, sauces, equipment, accoutrements, the smoker itself, the pellets, you name it. They've got it at Barbecue Pit Stop. Check out any of their 5 Utah locations. Man, if you have a chance to go to Logan, that butcher's amazing. The funny thing is, Logan, Layton, they all have these great butcher counters now.
Yes.
It's
super
Barbecue
cool.
Pit Stop is picking up their game. I'm telling you.
It's literally a one-stop shop for everything that you would need in the smoking world.
Yep. Dave Johnson says, wouldn't you say Donovan Mitchell would move on in 3 years without the current roster? This is not a championship team. My feeling is he would leave. Obviously, things can change, but we need some more. We want more. Well, I also don't think they're taking this roster to camp. I'm pretty certain of that. Casey Finlinson says, Jake, Utah is going to be good, but are they good because of the talent or because of the schedule? I feel like a game between BYU and Utah this year would be a toss-up with all the talent.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think it would be super tight. But I just look at Utah's schedule, and I just say, okay, the way the schedule flows, because I think this really matters. When your bye week is, and when you get the tough opponents versus the cakewalks. Utah's schedule is set up kind of nice, in my opinion. I think that opening with Florida, you have an opportunity there. Yeah, are they a good team? Yes. But does good team equal opportunity? Yes, it does. So if you beat Florida, you're in a great place. You're feeling awesome about yourself. So you beat Florida, let's say. Then you get three games that are all wins, in my opinion. Southern Utah, win. San Diego State, win. Or Arizona State, win. Now, the only game of question there is San Diego State. I think they deserve respect. They always make it tough on you, but I do think you're going to beat San Diego State. I don't see a game that's tough for Utah until SC. That's my opinion. I think you're going to handle Arizona State. I think you're going to handle Oregon State. Those should be wins, man. Absolutely wins. SC is the game where I say, okay, SC has a lot to play for. You've got Lincoln Riley doing his thing. They've got a lot of proving to do. They're trying to build back that program. I could see you losing that game at home, and that's when your first adversity hits of the season. You're like, damn, we lost SC at home. They got us again. right? That's what I think of that game. But then after SC, and again, maybe I'm way off. I don't see another challenging game until Oregon. I don't give Stanford credit. I don't give Arizona credit. Washington State tends to be kind of a pest, but you should hang with them. You should be able to handle them. So that's what I think. I think you've got Oregon, SC, and San Diego State and Florida. Those are your 4 games that are tough. But I think they're all winnable, man. All of them.
Yeah, and I also think, again, you're not going to have the offensive line issues that you have. You're not going to, you have a lot of reason to be optimistic about the offense coming out of spring.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Devon Vele is a guy that I think put on a show in spring. Him and Cam Rising clearly have chemistry.
What is Cam Rising like with expectations? Because I got news for you. It's not good enough just to come in anymore. Now you got to carry the team. Now you got to lead this team.
Yeah, we'll see. Ryan Buckley says Brant is playing wide receiver, FYI. Well, and there's been a lot of talk about Brant Keithy, how he will line up. I think you're going to see him line up in multiple spots across the formation. I mean, he'll line up tight in some situations. I think he and Kincaid will line up outside in certain situations. I think the nice thing is you have flexibility and you have the ability to move these guys around.
But I also think you can't just have those 2 guys. You can't just have
I
Keithy
would
and
agree with
Kincaid
that.
and think that is going to be good enough. Like, yeah, those guys are great tight ends / wide receivers, right? They can do a lot for you. But I'm just going to keep saying you need at least one guy either from the slot or truly outside wide receiver 1 who can burn the defense. Because once you have that threat, just the mere threat that they can run past you, the 10 to 15-yard intermediate opens up, and then you're cooking with gas, bro.
Greg Hawkins says BYU plays 6 G5s in an FCS team, so that's why people are saying their schedules isn't quite there. The Notre Dame, Arkansas, and Oregon games are solid, though. Well, I mean, what is San Diego State? What is Southern Utah? I mean, everybody has.
But I think.
I mean, and I wouldn't even say cupcakes, but everybody's got outs on their schedule.
I think what people are saying is that San Diego State is better than Boise State. Let's say, if you take those 2, I feel like that's a fair comparison. I would take San Diego State.
You can say the same thing about Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor. I mean, Baylor is going to be better than Southern Utah.
I mean, they both play Oregon. I mean, listen, I think it just is what it is.
We got bots, bro.
We got bots.
The bot
again.
portion of the show is here.
The bot portion of the show is in the hizzy.
Wait, we have bots. Does that mean Donovan's getting traded?
I think that's exactly what that means. That Donovan is getting traded because the sex porn bot guys are here. I have reported them and
You've
moved
reported them. Excellent. Okay.
All right, let's bang through some of these comments because we got to get rolling as well. Cody Strickland says, "Are we going to war with China or what?"
Okay, we ain't here for that.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Nancy Pelosi ain't starting wars. Ramiro says, I was just happy to see BYU play with cojones in the Utah game. Their lack of man parts in that game was getting hard to watch. I agree with that. It is, let's see. Scammer Trolling says, Andy Larson is the best beat writer in the market. Maybe. It's not really our choice.
It's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, which is great. And if you read Andy, congratulations. Cody Strickland says, I just got bot sandwich with my comments, LOL, and then I removed them.
Yeah.
So
we
fine.
took care of them.
All right, let's run through a couple other conversations here because I do want to talk about Vince Scully. The LA Dodger legend.
It is one of my pet peeves in life.
Is flying around my head right now.
How?
I don't know because it's humid out and we left the door open. My bad.
Damn it.
Dodger legend Vince Scully passed away yesterday at the age of 94 and just was the voice of a generation. And I don't know how much people value play-by-play announcers. I think obviously in NBA circles, Hot Rod was one of the best in the business. I have really been fortunate to be around some really awesome play-by-play guys. I produced Chick Hearn for, 5 years with the Lakers. I grew up listening to Harry Carey and Steve Stone and listening to Vin when I moved to Los Angeles and getting to talk to Vinny several times. One of the great moments of my career was watching Vince Scully and Chick Hearn have a conversation about nothing to do with sports. And you just see those two guys and the deference they had for each other and the handshake and Vinny standing there with Chick Hearn with his arm around Chicky. And watching those two talk about life, and it's just remarkable. Like the legends of that generation. You know, I also go back to Mike Shannon with the St. Louis Cardinals, who retired last year. You look at Mike Shannon, who worked for that team for 50 years. You look at Vin Scully from from the 30s.
Yeah, man.
67 years.
Brooklyn Dodgers, bro.
It's amazing the things that Vin Scully saw and experienced, from World Wars to Jackie Robinson to Don Larson to Kirk Gibson. Vin Scully saw it all. So in the comments, I'd love to hear from you this morning on your favorite play-by-play announcers. And for me right now, I mean, obviously, I don't know that I have a favorite play-by-play announcer right now. Like, if you look at the national guys and you look at the NFL, Joe Buck's okay. I mean, obviously, I think Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, that combo is really good. But I don't know that we have the same generation of guys. Like Al Michaels, I love listening to Al Michaels call a big football game, but I think probably on golf, there's no doubt it's Jim Nantz, right?
Yeah.
You look at the way that Major League Baseball is called these days. There's not a lot of great Major League Baseball play-by-play guys. John Miller in San Francisco, obviously, is a gem. I mean, the Giants on the whole, Kruk and Kipe, and I mean, they have a generation of guys in that booth that are all fantastic. But I look at the Cubs. I mean, their TV situation has changed. Len Casper is my favorite play-by-play guy, but I can't hear him now because he works for the White Sox, right? So John Shambi has replaced Len Casper. That doesn't feel right to me, right? So I really struggle with that. I don't think there's any doubt that Michael Kay on Yes Network with the Yankees is somebody that I really enjoy listening to. Because he's a guy that's iconic. He's got that voice. He's got that relationship with the team, and he's been there for such a long time. It's really difficult for me anyway to have that long-term relationship with a play-by-play guy, Jake, because I just don't think there's any guys that have that kind of longevity.
Yeah, and I think that's what Vin provided. You knew for decades that when you turned Dodger baseball on the radio, you knew the voice you were going to get. And not only did you know the voice you were going to get, you were excited. You were like, yes, Vin's on the radio. I distinctly remember there was maybe 4 years ago when we went to L.A., you and I were driving around at sunset around Huntington Beach, and we were going to In-N-Out, and we were going, to get some dinner or whatever. Windows down, Vin Scully on the radio. Like, it's the stuff of dreams, bro. And I think that, this generation, specifically my generation, isn't producing guys like that anymore. It's just a different world, a different game. And while it is unfortunate, I also think that if we had a million guys like Vin Scully wouldn't exist. And that's what I think you have to realize, is that guys like Vin Scully are special, man.
They're gems.
Yeah, they're absolute. Gem is the right word. I couldn't think of a better word.
He called Dodger baseball for 67 years, Mrs. Monty.
67 years. So, Jake, you brought up a point that I just want to tag on to. It's different now. People don't listen to the radio and hear play-by-play. And I think that is the change. I grew up with Vin Scully. I grew up in Southern California. I loved listening to him. My mom actually loved listening to baseball. She taught me how to fill out, a scoring card when you go to a game.
It's a pastime.
It's a great pastime. But people don't listen to the radio anymore. So now you get the play-by-play kind of announcers on the TV, but it is different. There is not that longevity. We won't see another Vin Scully. We won't see another Harry Carey. We're just not going to see it because it is different now. But boy, when you told me last night that he had passed and he hasn't been on the air for a while, I knew the day was coming. He was advanced in age, but man, what a loss. And an end of an era, really. That's what I think.
Yeah, and it's tough because I think the days of great local broadcasters are gone, unless you're scammer trolling,
right?
Who says favorite play-by-play announcer for me is Tim Montemayor doing high school football on 1320.
Let's go! Let's go!
His name is Scammer Trolling.
Yes.
Eric and Raleigh says John Miller, Dave Fleming, Kevin Harlan, and Jim Nantz. Well, Dave Fleming's absolutely fantastic.
Stud.
I think Dave does a
But I think Michael
great
K.
job.
I think Michael K's got a chance. Not to be Vince Scully,
Oh,
but
I think he's
Michael
that guy
K,
already.
Yeah,
I think he is one of the best in the business.
Yeah.
You know, it's why. The NBA guy,
Mike
Breen.
Breen. Yeah.
I think Mike Breen does a great job.
How many moments of LeBron's career, of Kevin Durant, of Kobe's career, man, has Mike Breen, had that call, the bang call where Ray Allen hits the three in the corner, like Steph against Oklahoma City, he has all those moments.
Yeah. Tanner Plummer says, I think David James does a good job calling RSL games. So, is he paying you? That's the third. I think the third time you've mentioned him today. I don't get. You know what? I don't get to. I listen to Bill Riley on the radio, and I think Bill does a great job on football. Bill's a little too football-y on soccer.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to, but I think Bill Riley does a great job. I think Bill Riley's probably the best play-by-play guy in the market. Yeah. I mean, obviously Greg Wrubell. I mean, it's just your Ute fans hate Greg Wrubell. I think Greg is amazing.
On BYU Radio.
On BYU Radio. It's the truth though.
You guys.
But if you think about the guys in this market, it's only Bill Riley and Greg Wrubell.
Yeah.
And I think the relationship to those two guys is they've both been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think, of either one of their teams. I mean, you have to have respect for what Bill and Greg have done as play-by-play guys in this market, because there is no BYU football without Greg Wrubell.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I think that's what marries us to those guys. That's what marries you to Vince Scully or Michael K. or John Miller or any of these guys. There is no that sport without that voice. They go together.
Yeah, and I mean, the things that I think about are Greg Wrubell, listening to Greg Wrubell call Taysom Hill jumping over a Texas Longhorn.
Yes.
And yelling Taysom. That to me, those are iconic moments. And I don't think you get over that. I mean, obviously, Hot Rod he's the icon in this market. I think so much the world of guys like Hot Rod and Chick and Vin, because those guys just don't grow on trees anymore. And that era of guy, I think sadly it's over. Drew Hirsch says, Vin Scully's a legend. Love his style. The best of the best. Great storyteller too. Too. Scammer Trolling says, David Locke does too much stats and not enough bringing the game to you. David Locke has to learn to give the score. The time and it's the old adage of time and temperature. You have to tell me what the score is and where in the game we are. It's so frustrating to listen to the Jazz on the radio, and I have no idea what the score is. I have no idea where we are in the game. And if David would just give us the score more often, I think because David's very passionate. David has a relationship, 13 seasons. David Locke is the voice of a generation of Jazz basketball. But give me the score. There is still the art of being a play-by-play broadcaster. And I think part of it is that Vince Scully, Vinny was telling a story about, being just a young redhead walking down the street in Brooklyn and seeing a ticket to a World Series game, which is what got him into baseball. But it was while Justin Turner was at the plate. And he was like, oh, just this redhead walking down the street, ball outside, 0-1. And he just keeps telling the story. And then Turner, I think, eventually flies out or something. He's like, there's a fly ball to right. Easily caught, 1 out. And he just goes right back to the story. And Chick Hearn, for those of you who never heard Chick Hearn do basketball, which I would find hard to believe, Chick Hearn used to say the Jello's jiggling, in the refrigerator, the game was over.
Yeah.
But he would give you the score and he would tell you, hey, Chick had a rule, the first to 100, right? And we would joke. One of the things that I was really lucky to do was to sit next to Chick Hearn, and we would joke about the Lakers. Him and I remember when the Lakers were headed to Sacramento for a Game 7 against the Kings, and I was like, man, I wonder if the season's over. I'll never forget Chick Hearn saying to me, don't worry about it, kid. They're coming back home. And sure enough, they came back home, right? Those moments are amazing. Sitting in the AT&T Park at the time, sitting in the AT&T Park media lounge, listening to John Miller, sitting at Mike Shannon's Steak and Seafood, the old restaurant that's now closed in St. Louis, with, Bob Costas, Mike Shannon, just Earl Weaver is another guy that comes to mind, that generation of guy. Bob Uecker Bob
Yeah.
Uecker. Oh, man. Bob Uecker and Mike Shannon sitting at a table. So in St. Louis, my job on TV was that I hosted the post-game show on cable on Friday nights. And it was called Friday Night at Mike Shannon's. And there would be a big round table. And Mike Shannon, it literally is like Ruth's Chris. It is the Ocean Club. Like it is a high-end steakhouse. And so Mike would come over after the game and we would sit there and we would talk to all these different guys about baseball. And it was, Tony La Russa at the time was still capable of staying awake in the dugout. And he fell asleep in the dugout the other day.
Unbelievable.
But Tony La Russa and I had several great conversations in the back room at Mike Shannon's where Tony would be sipping wine, eating dinner, and we would just be sitting there talking baseball. Me and Tony La Russa sitting at a table. And one time Mike Shannon walked over and sat down with us. And it's like 2 a.m. And we're sitting at Mike Shannon's Steak and Seafood talking baseball and talking life. And the best thing I ever did there is I never said 2 words. Because you just sit and you listen to guys like Bob Costas, Mike Shannon, Bob Uecker, Joe Morgan, like all these guys that would come through and just have stories to tell. You hear Red Shandy sitting at a table talking about all this stuff. And so sitting next to Chick Hearn and the amount of people like the Wahlbergs walking up to meet Chick Hearn, like it's amazing. Listening to, at a shoot around, listening to Chick Hearn and Kobe Bryant sitting courtside talking basketball. That's amazing to me. And I remember, honestly, the first time I ever met Vin Scully was in the media lounge at Dodger Stadium, which is all the way up at the top. And it's in the back of the press box. And Vin Scully just walks in and sits down at the table next to me. And he was talking to the Spanish language broadcaster for the Dodgers, who's also been there like 100 years.
And they were very close.
And they're just sitting there chopping it up over the lineup card. And it's like, damn, dude, that's Vin Scully talking about the Dodger lineup card.
Yeah.
And Eric Karros, it's just, you don't get those moments anymore because those moments don't exist.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me to think about the generation of broadcaster that we've lost.
Yeah.
The
game is definitely not what it was.
And like Mrs. Monty was saying, like your parents used to listen to Vin Scully.
Yeah.
I remember, one of the greatest memories I have of me and Mrs. Monty was in 1998 with the Cubs and the Cardinals. And I was doing radio at a place called the Cable Radio Network.
Okay.
Which was in, I can't remember La Cañada, Flint Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mrs. Monty had a white Jeep Wrangler. And so we got in the Jeep and we drove up to the mountains and we did this Cable Radio Network show. Then we got off the air and we were driving home. And the Mark McGuire call is on the radio. And I'll never forget that. Yeah. And it's just that moment in history. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. The call of the call of Barry Bonds' home run, record-breaking home run. I will never forget that.
The call of Sammy Sosa breaking his bat and getting popped for corked bats.
Okay. Why? Now you've gone too far.
Oh, I haven't. That's one of my memories.
Giggity says, being a lifelong Dodger fan, losing Vin hurts. It does. It does. Giggity says, damn, Monty, I'm jealous you got to meet Vin. Yeah. And he wouldn't know me if I walked up to him yesterday or the day before, but he treated you. One of the things of that generation is those guys treated you like a king, no matter who you were or how long they knew you.
Yes.
And like Mike Shannon, I got a job in St. Louis in 2005 that I did not deserve. Nobody wanted me there, right? Like I was coming in from Sacramento, but there were like 30 broadcasters coming in to take over a St. Louis radio station that the Cardinals bought and moved from the great KMOX and put the games on this radio station. Nobody wanted us there. But Mike Shannon at spring training, Mike Shannon and I were sitting down the first base line at the St. Louis Cardinals baseball stadium in Florida for spring training. And he was just walking me through essentially, hey, this is happening here. And hey, watch this. Hey, and if you want to learn about something, go, he embraced me and he gave me all this great advice. Hell, one of the best memories I have of Vin Scully is the old Vero Beach Dodgers. Vero Beach obviously is no longer. They're in Arizona now. But at the old baseball stadium in Vero Beach, Vin Scully was literally where this Michael Jordan poster is, calling play-by-play. The dugouts didn't have covers on them. They were just holes in the ground with cement steps. Like,
Jeez.
So one of the coolest things I ever did was sit at the top row there right below Vin Scully and listen to him call Dodger baseball in spring training. By myself, nobody else like that in the media, nobody. Just this, like me and this kid was sitting next to me. I'll never forget it. And just listening to Vinny tell stories, like that was one of the most enjoyable parts of that spring training. Getting a ticket going into the Yankee Stadium was not fun. You know. That was awesome. Spring training's amazing. Anyway, less of me, more of you, right? Let's see. Arlington Bear says, listening to Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout game. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Eric and Raleigh said, Vince Scully treated everyone like a great friend he hadn't seen in a while. Yes. Yes, he did. Top Junkie says, Pat Summerall and John Madden. Oh, Pat Summerall and John Madden.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Mitch Young says, I'm going to sound like a BYU homer, but I always enjoyed Rubel. The coverage he does pre and post game are really enjoyable, and Riley Nelson has come into his own. Yeah, Riley Nelson has become a really good listen. A really good listen. So, yeah, I think, again, everything BYU does, TV, radio, broadcasting, the BYU New Skin Cougar Network.
On BYU Radio.
Yeah, everything that they do is very
top
good.
notch.
Very, very good. No matter, if you're a BYU fan or not. Scammer Trolling says, I tried to call your guy Devry for a mortgage refinance. Instead, I called DeVry University, and now I'm enrolled in a bunch of useless classes. Well, I mean.
Hey, we got dude's number in one of our graffics here.
Come on, man.
Yeah, take the number down, bro.
801-543-9666.
Come on.
He didn't try to call Devry.
I know.
He's a troll.
Yeah, I know.
801-543-9666. NMLS number 278545 for Devry Davis at Academy Mortgage. But who are your favorite broadcasters? Like, where do you guys come down on this? He says, I feel like you guys didn't do enough to discuss the guy earlier who wanted to ask you about war with China, because this isn't the war with China show.
Yeah, we don't need to.
Jeremy Sevre says, one of my best BYU memories was shooting a basketball in the barn and hearing Greg Rubel losing his mind over Beck to Harleen. One of my best BYU football memories is Beck and Harleen talking about Beck to Harleen.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think that moments like that, Beck to Harleen or Taysom jumping over guys or whatever, I think that's what we all live for as sports fans.
Cody Strickland says, I just hope I don't have to listen to Holly for the Jazz this year. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, Neville93 says, I like you guys more than Stephen A. and Skip. Well, thanks. We appreciate that. Speaking of which, Jake, let's talk about $78,000 a year to be a candy taster.
So in Canada, there's a company called Funhouse or Candy Funhouse, and they're hiring, and note these names of these positions. They're hiring, quote, Chief Candy Officer, CCO, Chief Candy Officer, right? To earn an annual salary of $100,000 in U.S., which is $78,000 Canadian, right? And what you have to do is, in this role, you have to try about 3,500 pieces of candy per month, or about at least 100 a day on average. Obviously more.
I'm sorry. I thought you said 3,500 pieces of candy a month.
100 pieces of candy a day.
3,500 a month.
Bro, so then not only do you have to do that, then I pull up a new study that was released. Get this, right? I know you guys are going to be shocked, right?
Here we go.
So this study showed that participants who got 20% or more of their daily calories from, quote, ultra-processed foods saw a faster decline in cognitive performance over a 6 to 10 year period. So basically your brain is suffering when you eat candy and chips and all this garbage every single day. So my question is, if you got offered 80 G's a year to taste candy every day, would you do that?
Hell no. I would not do it. I can't imagine 100 pieces of candy a day. Like, I don't eat much sugar. And it's funny. We Mrs. Monty and I both wore these glucose monitors for 2 weeks. Because we're not diabetic or anything like that. We wanted to know what the food was doing that we were eating was doing to our blood sugar.
Right.
I can't imagine what candy would do to a glucose meter. I mean,
So, but this is how I think it works with those types of positions. It's the same way as like a wine taster. You do a lot of chewing and spitting out. I imagine the candy taster is going to be doing a lot of chewing and spitting out, like not actually truly eating it.
That's
so,
gnarly.
I mean, it's still a lot
That's
of sugar.
gnarly,
bro,
bro.
that is.
But I really do believe that's how it happens because, like sommeliers, they're not getting.
I'm sorry, Samohuye.
That's somebody who tries
Wine
wine.
tasters or wine
Saz-
experts aren't, or even alcohol experts are not.
Somalians?
Just give yourself up.
This
Anyways,
is in Somalia now.
They don't chug wine all day. They swish. They spit.
I thought you said Canada.
I did.
Now it's in Somalia.
Do you see what I have to work with here?
So you said Somalia. Doesn't that mean you're like from Somalia?
Anyways, I believe this position is a lot of chewing and spitting out. So you have like a spittoon of like chewed up candy.
A spittoon.
That's disgusting.
Totally.
Like, do you know the amount of vomit that you would be?
It would look like vomit.
No, man.
Honestly.
No, man. I can't even.
Bro,
That's
do you
why
get a
they're paying
stipend
you
for the
so
garbage
much.
bags you'd use? Jeez.
Good Lord. Talking with Raphael podcast says, yeah, that would give me diabetes. I would agree.
I can't do it, bro. No way, bro.
No. 3,500 pieces of candy per month. Wilford Brimley in Diabetes has entered the chat. Seriously.
Yeah.
They better have
Seriously.
a good dental plan.
Giggity
Oh.
says,
Good
no
dental
way.
plan.
No way you actually consume the candy. They have to taste and spit it out, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have
Mrs.
to.
Monty, let's talk about spitting it out.
So you better check yourself.
Okay, we should probably move on. Okay, if you had to eat 3,500 pieces of candy, could you do it with one piece of candy? I would imagine the easiest 3,500 a month would be M&Ms.
By the way, how
Right?
often are you refreshing your palate?
Oh, it's like I said,
What do you mean?
you chew,
Well, because if
taste
you eat,
it, do whatever writing down you have to do, then you spit that out, swish around, spit that out.
your
go to
tongue
the
has
next
to be
one.
fresh to taste it.
You
can't
the
just-
bucket that
Yeah.
you would have of chewed up candy and water from rinsing is it's barf. That's why they'd have to pay you that much just
Dude.
to do it.
What the are we talking about right now?
Be honest.
All right, let me get on Amazon and look for a candy spittoon. No.
I think it's just like a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket.
And by the way, here's the
and
other
then you
thing.
rinse that out every day.
Here's the other question I have. How are they holding you accountable to 3,500 pieces a month?
I'm guessing you probably have to write. You have to probably do some sort of input. Every
Excel
time you taste the
spreadsheet.
candy.
The texture of this Snickers bar lacked in continuity and quality.
3/4 of this is inaccurate.
The aroma that filled my palate was not satisfactory to the Somalians.
Because it's garbage.
Like
I'm
it's
stuck on the. Ugh.
is that the
Dude, the candy spit bucket is gnar, bro.
I mean, maybe you
that
could just
is
stand over
gnarly,
your sink.
dude.
I don't know.
Dude, no.
no.
But then again,
Bro.
in Canada, they don't have garbage disposals, so
That's
you
not
probably
what we're
couldn't do it
about.
that way
Well,
either.
you know, the worst part of this conversation is it brings me back to my childhood. My brother would get like these terrible hacking flus. And so he would have a similar to a dip cup. And he would like spit phlegm into this cup.
Oh,
And it would be
tissue.
it would be full of like all this phlegm he was spitting out.
Oh.
And it would be an amazing kaleidoscope of death and bacteria.
Yeah, I've been immunized.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Dude, no,
The best
bro.
was he spilled that on the dresser one day.
oh
Use a
No.
tissue. What is wrong with
But
you?
he would leave
Bro.
them on the counter. Like he would leave them on his
No.
dresser.
That's disgusting. And why weren't your parents telling him to use a freaking tissue? Cough that into a tissue and put it
Oh.
in the trash.
Parents are not allowed to be in our room. No,
dude,
you are not in my
that's,
room.
I'm sorry, that's gross.
No.
But one,
That's not healthy. That is like totally unsanitary.
But would you want
Reese's Pieces, no doubt about it.
Reese's Pieces,
All day.
Mrs. Monty? What would be the 3,500 pieces of candy? Do you have? What's your favorite candy?
Well, I like dark chocolate. Like,
You like dark chocolate is your wait, what? Dark chocolate is your favorite candy.
well, I mean,
The bots. Anyway.
yeah. Anyways, I don't know if I had to pick those chocolate oranges from the UK. They're like an orange that you like crack it and you have the little wedges. They're like dark chocolate and orange.
Oh yeah, the chocolate covered orange is the one.
Not to be confused with a chocolate covered apple.
Anyways, but
Yeah. No, if I had to eat 3,500 pieces of candy a month, it'd be M&Ms.
Yeah, I need them to be small.
And see, I'd want it to be peanut M&Ms because then you can like crack the candy shell and like enjoy the nut.
This is just not an option. Like they're not going to let you eat the same piece of candy all month long. And if I had to do that, it would be peanut butter M&Ms.
Now you're talking.
Okay.
Peanut butter, not peanut.
But because
peanut butter.
Brit, not peanut, because Brit doesn't enjoy the nut.
Right.
Motherfucking, down, ham,
What? I'm just trying to clarify. What is the problem? All right. Giggity says, Mrs. Monty strikes again. Orange flavored chocolate is tasty. Yes, it is. Eric and Raleigh says, you missed the basketball conversation about an hour and a half ago. Okay. Fat Jesus says cinnamon bears.
I'm not a big cinnamon bear guy.
I could eat gummy colas for an entire month.
Swedish fish and
Swedish
Reese's
fish.
Pieces mixed
But that's the
together.
other thing. This is a salaried position. You know the longevity you have to have in this position?
That's probably why they
Like-
have to rehire a lot.
Yeah, like damn.
And I'm telling you, good dental benefits. Because all
100
of that sugar in your teeth
Ugh.
all day long.
Don't you
Dude.
have to like
Ugh.
aqua
You
floss
probably have
and
to
brush
like
Y'all feel me?
constantly.
and pick your teeth?
Ew.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm good.
Ryan Buckley says, how many crusty socks did you have under your bed, man? That's just not... What? Scammer Trolling says, I'm guessing the bots were sent by 1280 The Zone. Yeah, probably.
You know.
I mean, that
keep deploying them.
that could be. Talking with Raphael podcast, I used to like sour Skittles. Ooh. Now I can't eat them because of the chemicals. Yep, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, a lot of people on cinnamon bears. Let's see. Martino87 says mini Starburst packets are great. Yes, they are.
Yep.
Yes, they are.
Yep.
Tanner Plummer says gummy bears. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Gummy bears or gummy worms?
Gummy bears.
Okay.
Gummy bears.
Gummy bears.
Yeah.
I like the combination of sweet and salty. Like if
Well,
you put that in,
Dude,
and-
Reese's Pieces and Mike and Ike's, dude. It's that simple.
but it's why trail mix is amazing.
Yes, it
M&Ms
is.
and cashews.
Oh,
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Please. Let's see. John Jackson says, a buddy of mine works in the food manufacturing industry and taste tests coffee after each batch is made. He says it takes a toll on him.
I'm sure it does, dude. You know how stained your teeth would get?
Ooh. Nah, I am.
No.
Okay, so I am not a coffee drinker.
Nah.
Mrs. Monty
I love
spends, I mean, a good part of your life making lattes up in the kitchen.
Right.
coffee. I spend
mean-
like maybe 2 minutes a day.
Well, that adds up, you know. Anyway, the reason that we're homeless is because Mrs. Monty has like a rocket ship of a coffee machine.
Right.
You know,
That's not
but
true.
I'm not a coffee drinker. Do a lot of people in the comments drink coffee? Because the whole beginning of this conversation is that junk food is killing you.
Yeah.
People who eat highly processed foods
Yeah.
are dying.
Yeah.
That's what this thing is about. 20% or more of your calories from junk food causes brain damage.
Yeah.
And the other stat is 58% of all calories consumed by Americans are processed foods.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That is incredible to me.
Yes.
So, do you guys care or pay attention to the food you eat?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Of course. I
closely-
mean, I think.
Well, Mrs. Monty, you're kind of a, you know, you're
I do.
crazy about it.
Yeah, I pay attention to a lot. I'm not eating, like, as much as I love a hot dog and would love to be at Superdog eating a Superdog on a bed of super fries.
No.
Hot dogs are really bad for
With
me.
a fried green
Like,
tomato.
Really heavily
cheese
processed
sauce.
meats are super bad, but heavily processed foods overall are super bad.
Yeah.
And here in the United States, we have really low standards for what we're allowed to put in our processed foods, including colorings and high fructose corn syrup. Like, we will put stuff in there that other countries just don't allow.
Oh,
and we're
totally.
like,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's totally okay.
Yeah, get that.
Yes, Americans.
Yeah, get that canola oil in there.
Yeah.
Scammer Trolling says, I appreciate you guys not throwing me out. This is kind of fun. We don't throw anybody out.
Yeah.
We don't throw anybody out.
This is fucking America.
Everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome. Couple more, then we got to roll.
Let you know that you're wrong, but no, I'm kidding. Anyways,
Talking with Raphael podcast says I drink 8 ounces of coffee a day. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Gene Stream Gamer says espresso shots is the best.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you're a huge fan of espresso shots. M. Alvarez says no Mormons drink coffee.
Next comment.
See, but is that
I
true
don't know
though?
that's totally true.
I don't.
not.
But I think the caffeinated beverage thing has changed significantly in the church. I do. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. Giggity says, "Hey, Mrs. Monty, have you tried the Kopi Luwak coffee? Never heard of it.
No,
Okay.
haven't heard of it.
Eric and Raleigh says Chipotle is all processed food.
Chipotle is not all processed food.
Eric and Raleigh, what do you mean by that?
We're talking processed. We're talking like
Ruffles.
Potato chips, candy, essentially anything not from the ground
Yeah.
or of the earth is processed. So if you're eating meat, that's processed. If you're eating burgers, fries, breads are usually highly processed. Even the best breads.
We're talking about things that have a lot of additives. Like, if you look at you know what a processed food is that's not great, that sometimes I do like, but it's really not like awesome, are like the Beyond Burgers. That is a heavily processed food.
Yes.
Is it worse than, a hot dog? No, but still not great. I think that, we have to focus on how often we can get whole foods to get all the vitamins and nutrients and nix out the carcinogens.
Yep, I would agree with that. Tanner Plummer says, when I was 14, I accidentally drank coffee, and it was hands down the worst thing I've ever had. Okay. Ryan Buckley says processed foods have plastics in them. I would agree with that.
Our rainwater has plastics in it now, so, we're fairly well screwed on that.
Scammer Trolling says, why do I have to keep watching ads? You don't. You can subscribe to YouTube Premium. Then you don't have to watch ads. Gene Stream Gamer says Philly cheesesteak is good. I love a good Philly cheesesteak. Talking with Raphael says, okay, is most vegan food processed food? I mean, technically it is. I mean, if you look at there was a big debate about the white pushy creamy
cream cheese,
tofu.
Tofu
is technically a processed food.
Yeah.
But it's not we're talking about things that tofu is processed, but it's not a heavily additive food.
Right. Yeah.
It's like you saying, well, your pancake is processed because it's not the whole version of the grain. When we're talking about processed foods, we're talking about things that are definitely not in their form. They have a lot of like nitrates. They have a lot of. It's okay to have some processing, but a ding dong is not good for you. The amount of preservatives in the food.
Wait, let's just stop right there. I'm sorry. I thought you said my ding dong was not good for you.
Anyway.
Hey guys.
Well, I'm asking. I'm just looking for clarity.
You need to share with people what the definition of a processed food is.
Okay, good. I thought you were going to say the definition of a ding dong, and I was going to say what.
Just so you can go to Pound Town.
A processed food, for the purpose of this discussion, is something that's got 30 ingredients in it. Usually anything baked, fried, chips, candy, certainly, baked goods, donuts, enamins, like any of those dessert items.
If you have to add flavorings, if you have to add preservatives, if you have to add
multiple sweetening agents.
Yeah.
Because something says it's sugar-free, but it's got Circulose in it or aspartame. Like that's a heavily processed food. Giggity says, Kopi Luwak is the coffee that has been digested by a cat before being roasted. Learned of it in the movie Bucket List.
No, that's disgusting.
Bro, what?
Digested?
Dude, what?
No, that's disgusting.
He said digested by a cat.
Bro.
That's disgusting.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What?
Whoa. That's not good. Careful with the glitzy dogs, y'all.
Glitzy dogs?
Glizzy dogs? I don't know what that is.
That is a reference to.
Mike Parker says cheese. I would guess
Yes.
cheese is a processed food.
Yeah.
For sure. Fat Jesus says the white pushy cream stuff.
Yeah.
That's why you get bots, Monty.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
You know.
Monty, my gosh, man, the double entendres today are worse than my trolling game. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, man.
It's amazing. Gene Stream Gamer says, ding dong. Kawhi Leonard's laugh.
Wow, bro.
You know.
Why are you hating on my boy Kawhi?
I'm not
All
hating on your guy, Kawhi. Hey, don't forget to give some love to our sponsors. We appreciate you guys. The Barbecue Pit Stop, 5 Utah locations. Logan, Lehigh, Layton, Murray, and St. George. There's an enter to win box on every Barbecue Pit Stop counter. Go and fill out the slip, drop it in the box. You're entered to win a trip for 2 to see BYU and Notre Dame in the Shamrock Series at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, October 7th and 8th. We give you 2 nights in a hotel, the Palms Casino Resort. 2 tickets to the game and a $250 gift card to get you there. And it is all brought to you by our good friend Deborah Davis at Academy Mortgage. 801-543-9666, NMLS number 278-545. Call them today. Even if you don't need a mortgage, say, hey, Deborah, just want to say thanks for supporting the Monty Show. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.